We start with breaking new reports this morning that the U.S. and Iran may be on the brink of a deal, both sides getting a ceasefire proposal that could reopen the Strait of Hormuz immediately. Now, President Trump is threatening hell on Iranian power plants and bridges as soon as tomorrow if the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened. Congressional correspondent Joe Khalil has more on the rescue mission deep inside Iran for a U.S. service member in just a bit. But first, we start with international correspondent Robert Sherman, who's live for us in Tel Aviv. Robert, good morning to you. Quite the breaking news here. What more can you tell us about this proposal?
Yeah, hey there, Marky. Well, as we speak, the last-second diplomatic push is on in order to provide off-ramps for both Iran and the United States before there is an escalation here in the region, with Iran's foreign ministry confirming just a short while ago that they have received diplomatic proposals and will be providing a response. In terms of what we're looking at here, according to Reuters, the proposal that is on the table that has been formulated by Pakistan comes in two separate phases. The first one, temporary ceasefire, opening up the Strait of Hormuz, and then trying to work towards a broader deal that would appetize both Iran when it comes to limiting sanctions and the United States for backing Iran away from nuclear ambitions. At the heart of this remains the Strait of Hormuz, and Iranian diplomats have told Reuters that they don't have a keen interest in reopening it right now as a bargaining chip for a temporary ceasefire. This is as you have energy officials with the IEA saying we're just a couple of weeks away from having an energy crisis hitting Europe, which is why there is such a push in order to get that key waterway open. Meanwhile, we've seen Israel keeping the pressure on in Iran and targeting top Iranian leaders. That has happened once again with Majid Kademi, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's intelligence chief, being eliminated, according to the IDF. Notable here is that he's rather new to the job, assuming the position over the last couple of weeks after the previous intelligence chief for the IRGC was eliminated. But Iran retaliating still around the region, especially here in Israel, where it was a rather sleepless night for people in Tel Aviv. And then in the north, you're looking at scenes in Haifa in which there were large impacts there. You see you see health officials combing through the rubble. We've just gotten an update from them saying at least 4 people have been killed as a result of those strikes carried out in northern Israel, with crews still on the scene. Marky.
Robert Sherman live in Tel Aviv for us. Thank you. Let me know.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. We start with breaking news. The head of the IRGC intelligence operation, Major General Majid Kademi, has been killed. According to a senior Israeli official, a joint U.S. and Israeli strike overnight took out the man who was considered effectively the number 2 within the IRGC. He's one of the few senior commanders, I'm told, who managed to survive multiple waves of Israeli and American targeting over the past year. He oversaw intelligence operations that directly targeted U.S. forces and allies across the region. This comes as we are continuing to track developments and the possibility of a ceasefire deal between the United States and Iran. Yesterday, I spoke with President Trump, and he said if a deal does not happen this week, quote, you're going to see bridges and power plants dropping all over their country. If they don't make a deal and fast, I'm considering blowing everything up and taking over the oil. Now, a new report today in Reuters says a framework to end hostilities has been put together by Pakistan and exchanged with Iran and the U.S. overnight, outlining a 2-tier approach with an immediate ceasefire followed by a comprehensive agreement. Despite these diplomatic conversations, U.S. and Israeli planes continue to hammer the Iranian regime as we are gathering new details about that daring rescue operation over the weekend that led that U.S. crew member to being rescued. Hundreds of U.S. Special Forces on the ground in southwestern Iran. You can see the province here where they were located. It was an hours-long operation, but again, ultimately it was successful as a result of U.S. military and intelligence excellence. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said overnight, I spoke earlier with President Trump and personally congratulated him on his bold decision and a perfectly executed American mission to rescue the downed pilot from enemy territory. The president expressed his appreciation for Israel's help. I am deeply proud that our cooperation on and off the battlefield killed is unprecedented and that Israel could contribute to saving a brave American warrior. As this is taking place, the Iranians are continuing their ballistic missile attacks against Israel. A number of ballistic missiles were launched overnight towards central Israel. You can see aftermath video here in the northern part of the country. This is the city of Haifa, and at this scene of a direct impact from a ballistic missile, there are still 2 people missing. 2 were killed in this strike, and 2 again are believed to be buried under the rubble. So a lot of kinetic activity across the region, and the United States is preparing for the possibility, if a deal is not reached, that there will be significant escalation here in the region, and President Trump has promised to target Iranian power and energy infrastructure.
Yeah.
Guys?
All of this always an option on the table. But Trey, the breaking news that you just reported about this high-ranking Iranian official that was killed in the joint U.S.-Israeli airstrike, how could his death impact these potential negotiations to end this war that are ongoing right now?
Yeah, so Major General Majid Kadhimi was the man responsible for building the intelligence behind the current Iranian operations that are targeting U.S. forces and allies across the region. This includes Gulf countries. And so the fact that he was taken out, he is considered to be the number 2 person in the IRGC right now. And I'm told that there was actually another official taken out as well in that same strike. And that official is the commander of the Quds Forces Special Operations Unit, Ashkar Bakiri. And again, this gives you a sense of how the Israelis and the Americans are working together with their intelligence agencies to try and target individuals within the IRGC who are responsible for the ongoing attacks, again, to put pressure on the Iranian regime so that they come to the negotiating table and make a good faith deal.
You just wonder how many more of these individuals need to be killed before Iran realizes that these people.
The AP and other outlets.
So good afternoon. A whole lot of stuff happening. President Trump is due up, as you know, to do the press conference at 1 o'clock. But what you may not know is it will be his second press conference of the day. So earlier this morning, he had the Easter egg celebration, which turned into an impromptu press conference. Unbelievable how much this guy is doing. Meanwhile, while they're waiting for Iran to get their act together and come to some sort of arrangement, the bombing continues. The killing continues. Their leaders are just evaporating one by one. I don't even know who they're negotiating with at this point. It's incredible how fast things are moving. So I expect that today's press conference, just to let you guys know, to set it up, I'm not sure if he's going to be on time because he just wrapped the Easter egg thing. And now he's got to go get ready for the press conference. And once it begins, I assume this will be a long, lengthy press conference. Not the type of press conference with Caroline Leavitt. I expect him to speak, possibly Pete Hegseth, possibly General Raisin Kane. Who knows who's going to be inside this office? Actually, it's not in the Oval Office. It's in the press room. So the press room is going to be packed. I'm thinking the stage and the podium is going to be packed. And we may see a 2-hour press conference. But in the interim, what I want to do is continue with this intro, which some of the news that's happened this morning, and then we'll talk about the Easter egg hunt press conference as well. So let's continue.
Are reporting that Egyptian, Pakistani, and Turkish mediators have presented the United States and Iran with a proposed 45-day ceasefire plan that includes opening the Strait of Hormuz, which is far in the distance in the Persian Gulf behind me. Now, that proposal was reportedly sent to the U.S. and Iran last night. The Strait of Hormuz has become a key issue for any peace deal, as Iran is wreaking havoc on commerce and law-abiding ships trying to pass through that strait. Also last night, President Trump warning Iran of an 8 p.m. deadline tonight for Iran to come to the table, where there could be many U.S. attacks tomorrow. The president writing Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it.
You know, I've kind of been making fun of Power Plant Day and Bridge Day together. I had posted something earlier. What's the family doing? How are you guys getting together for Plant Day, Power Plant Day, and Bridge Day? But it's no laughing matter. Again, if you watched the show last night, I told you that these libtards were going to start talking war crimes, war crimes, war crimes. You're going to hear that over and over if you haven't already heard it this morning.
Open the blinking straight, you crazy blink, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. Now, over the weekend, I met in person here with Dr. Sanwar Gargash. He is referred to as His Excellency here in this country. He's an advisor to the president here. Dr. Gargash tells me that if the United States presents the right plan, the UAE, the country that we are in, will join the United States in using force on the Strait of Hormuz. Dr. Gargash saying, quote, "We're not ready to act as a maritime force, but we will join any American-led effort, international effort, to secure navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. We are ready to play our part." Also, Dr. Gargash telling us that he considers the United States the UAE's greatest security ally, and that the UAE is ready to, quote, double down on its relationship with the United States right now.
More about his role in authorizing the multifaceted operation to get both of these airmen out. Of course, the second being more complex. The president tipping his hat to everybody involved, the quick thinking of his commanders, but he was involved in every level of this. I mean, from the CIA information plan that they have to put out that misinformation about the second airman being taken out by vehicle when in fact he was still there, to the hardware being destroyed so that it would not fall into the hands of the Iranians. So we're going to hear more from the president today at 1 p.m. This is going to be held in the briefing room because of all of the interest from the media, so many questions that many have. It would surprise you how many people can fit inside that smallish room when the president is at the podium, but that is what we are going to see this afternoon. So looking back at last week, it looks like Wednesday evening was the last time that we had seen the president speak publicly. He had those public remarks, and also on Truth Social this weekend, if you look, I mean, he was unusually quiet. All of that strategic silence in order to protect this mission at hand, what began late last week, is Iran feeling like they have achieved something in shooting down that U.S. jet. That feeling for them has been reduced to disgrace, with the president saying that the U.S. has once again proven overwhelming air dominance and superiority. He wrote on Truth Social this, quote, "This is a moment that all Americans, Republican, Democrat, and everyone else should be proud of and united around. We truly have the best, most professional and lethal military in the history of the world."
Do you know when he climbed that 7,000 feet, to climb that mountain crevice, he was able to transpond his first communication? Reportedly, do you know what he said?
What?
He transpired, "God is good."
Right.
God.
Can you imagine that? Your plane goes down. You have to hustle up the side of a mountain 7,000 feet. This guy, I believe, was 38 to 40 years old or so. Must have been in fantastic shape, in pain, hurting, no fear. At that point, instincts kick in. I got to do what I've been trained to do. It's got to be automatic. What do you got to do? You got to get to high ground. You got to get cover. These guys are going to kill you. And his first transmission, I hope if I ever get in that kind of a situation, I hope that's the first thing that comes to my mind. When I don't know if I'm going to live or die, whether these people are going to break me from limb to limb if they get to me. And his first transmission, God is good. And I heard that and I went, wow. Can you imagine being in that kind of situation? A real live or die situation with great pain. They're not just going to shoot you in your head. They're going to drag you through the street. They're going to flay you. They're going to do whatever they can to make your life whatever little bit of life you have, a living hell. And the first thing that comes to your mind is you're scampering up this mountain of 7,000 feet. And you have the wherewithal, the clarity to say, God is good.
God is good. That was the first message after being downed on Good Friday and being rescued ultimately on Easter. But, you know,
but they didn't know when he said God is good.
They thought it might be a trick.
They thought it may be a lot of the, radical Islamists say God is great. And, it took the Secretary of War talking with his crew to say he's actually pretty religious. This is definitely him.
Wow. I can't even imagine having that kind of clarity in that situation. Never been there. Hope I'm never in that kind of situation. I hope none of you are never in such a life and death situation. But if you ever are, I pray that you have that kind of inner peace and clarity. That's the kind of inner peace and clarity the left just will never know. Their entire lives are built upon chaos. Their entire lives are about destroying other people. They don't want anything good for Americans. They don't want anything good for you. All they want is to make sure that we are subservient to government, and it looks like they want us subservient to other nations. And very seldom do you see anybody on the left have that kind of intestinal fortitude when faced with so much adversity to say God is good. They don't even have the intestinal fortitude like President Trump to say, fight, fight, fight. They're a bunch of whiny babies. And we've got to eradicate ourselves from these libtards because they're going to poison America. I just wanted you guys to hear that. And one day very soon, I firmly believe we are going to hear that from that pilot himself. Once they clear him and his health and he can do whatever he needs to do, we don't know about his injuries. Maybe we may find out today. Had to be healthy enough to scale a 7,000-foot mountain. But one day we're going to see him. One day we're going to hear from him. And I bet you that's going to be like the first thing out of his mouth. So how did you do it? How did you avoid it? God is great. God is good. And no one in the media is going to know how to handle it because they don't know. They don't have that knowledge. They don't have that inner peace. I pray for them that some of them get it. Maybe it will change things in America. I showed you guys yesterday that there's a huge surge of younger people heading to church, getting baptized. And I didn't want to make this a sermonistic type thing, but everything we're seeing right now, if you're not a praying person, with everything you're seeing happen right now in this world, when you see that oil may hit 120, 140 because of what's happening, people may go hungry, people may not be able to put gas in their cars, many people may die. We don't know what tomorrow brings. I can laugh and we can have fun with Bridge Day and Power Plant Day. It doesn't really affect us, but it's going to affect somebody. And just imagine if it was affecting us, how many people aren't ready for it? It's scary. Tonight, I just want to give you a little update. Tonight. If my voice holds up, I feel fine, but if my voice holds up, I got a show for you tonight. It's about General Patton and the similarities between what General Patton has done and what President Trump is doing right now. Even though he was a general, President Trump, he's not a general, but if you know President Trump's history, you know where he went to high school, you know what his dad instilled upon him, and the remarkable similarities and the influence that General Patton has had on President Trump, you're going to be like, wow, it's going to blow you away. So let me check with SV as before we get going here. What's going on?
Hey, Barry, happy libtard triggering day. It's amazing. President Trump looks so good at the Easter egg roll. He's well alive. His reports of his demise are highly irregular. He's looking good.
They can't stop. They can't even help themselves. We wouldn't see Biden for weeks on end, and if we did see him, he was drooling on himself or something. But they don't see Trump for a couple hours, and it's like, oh my God, something must be wrong. He's off to the hospital. It's insane. That's because that's what they want. That's what they wish and everything. So the heck with them.
They have nothing but TDS, and screeching like harpies.
Now, I know it's way too early, so I doubt you have much breaking news or anything, but do you?
I have a couple things.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, first off, the stock market's actually trending up this morning, maybe because of the good news that's hopefully coming. It's up about 134 points. The S&P is up 25. So I looked at it and said, oh, wow, that's kind of a surprise. So that's nice. And then just in your state of Florida, Governor DeSantis formally signed a legislation cracking down on Sharia law and Islamism across Florida. So that's a start. We need to have that in all 50 states, of course, because it's infesting a lot of the blue cities.
They also last week we enacted our own Save America Act down here.
I saw that, yeah.
Of course, what's his name? Mark Elias is already said we're going to sue. We're going to sue. Go ahead. It's a legislative law. I mean, so good luck with that. It's done.
Right.
No wonder we have such an influx here.
Yeah, Florida definitely is starting a trend. Everyone should follow, his lead. It's amazing what's going on down there. I can see why everybody is flocking down to the Sunshine State. That's fantastic. And lastly, for the moment, I see that NASA is posting that the Artemis 2 astronauts are flying near the moon. And I don't want to take away from your show, but people could find it, and I'll post it in the chat. But don't head off Barry's show. But they're going to show some of the parts of the moon that you've never seen before. So they're going to stream that through the NASA website. So in case anybody's interested, I will post it 1 or 2 times and you can take a look later. It's pretty cool.
You might not have to. Let me see if I have it. I actually have it in my speed service. So once President Trump, once he's done, it looks like that's supposed to start at, when is that supposed to start?
It said 1 o'clock. It was 1700 UTC, which is 1 p.m. EST. So I'm looking at the website now.
Those times always screw me up. But
me too. I had a Grocket. Actually.
It's like if you go online, there's actually a conversion website you can go to. Yeah. So we'll see that. So thank you, SV. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read something from Lear, and then we're going to get into the Easter egg hunt while we're waiting, because I doubt he's going to be on time. I mean, Easter egg hunt just seemed like it was never going to end. I'm looking at the press room. See if they have the camera up. The camera doesn't seem to be up yet, but as soon as he comes on, obviously we jump to it. So I will see you in a little bit. Like I was saying, I want to talk to you guys real quick about one of today's sponsors, and that would be Lear. If you bought some gold and silver, I hope you didn't freak out, because let me see where we're at today. Right now, as we speak, silver is at $72.75. They're trying everything they can do to suppress the market, and it's not working. The days of excessive money printing, overvalued markets, and global unrest are finally catching up to the elite. Instead of pulling back, now is the time, as always, to do your own research. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes fixed on trends. Get some information from my friends at Lear Capital. Experts are still predicting $6,000 gold, $6,000 gold, and $150 to $200 an ounce silver. Everything you're seeing is being driven by geopolitical uncertainty, inflation concerns, and a perceived weakening dollar. And what I got to tell you is, try to stay away from paper stuff. Actually look for the actual coin, this thing, or bars. This is a gold. I think this is a quarter an ounce. This thing right here, that's $1,000 right there. And so actually look for the actual coins or bars. None of this paper stuff. Is it time for you to buy some physical gold or silver? That's a decision you'll have to make. But if you call Lear Capital, they'll help you by getting the most accurate information you'll need to make an informed decision. Call the best in the business, and a company that Robin and I personally trust and buy from. It's right here. I'm not just talking about it. We actually buy. And we're happy we did when we did as well. Call Lear Capital. It's a free call. There's no obligation to purchase, just education and information on protecting and growing your wealth with gold and silver. I'm sure there are many of you that have called before and haven't purchased yet for whatever reason. That's fine. But if you get your information, they'll even walk you through shifting some of your money sitting in a retirement account over to physical gold and silver. It's easy to do. I've been extremely satisfied with Lear's knowledge, service, and prices. I urge you to call today and learn more at 800-601-5430, 800-601-5430, or go to learberry.com to learn more. And you notice now I've begun pronouncing it and actually telling you guys physical gold and silver. It's very important. So as right now you can see, they are in the room getting ready. Everything is buzzing around. President Trump hasn't come on. I doubt they don't have the lights on the audience yet. They're just in there. So we will cut to it as soon as he gets on, or whoever comes on first. You see the lady there from, I believe, CBS miking up herself. Another guy from Fox there getting ready to do his hit. Everybody's getting all primed, getting ready for what is going to be an explosive, and hopefully it won't be a libtard question-filled press conference, but I have no faith in these people. So we'll be right back. We'll get this show on the road.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so as you can see, they're still setting up. The same woman, the same guy are both standing there. I wish I had long hair. I could like hide, microphones and stuff like that. But anyway, they're getting ready to go on. So in the interim, while we're waiting for President Trump to come on, let's roll it with the Easter egg and all the festivities.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and First Lady Melania Trump, accompanied by the Easter Bunny.
I just wanted to break in for 1 second. I know some of you have seen it, but I always like to put up a poll in the chat to see who's seen it and who hasn't. 83% of the people thus far out of 2,300 votes have not seen it. That's why I'm showing it, because almost everybody hasn't seen this. So enjoy.
Master Gunnery Sergeant Kevin Benier, accompanied by the President's own United States Marine Band, will now honor America with the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Does he have a good voice or what? I think we're going to send him to the Met. We'll get a little commission, make a lot of money, because that man can sing. Thank you very much. It's not the first time we've heard him. So today is a very special day. It's a day where we celebrate Jesus. It's a day where we celebrate religion. And it's an honor to be the President of the United States. Our country is doing so well, like it has never done before. You'll see that very shortly. And things that we've done have not been done before. We've broken every record on the stock market. We've broken every record in our military. And what about the rescue that took place yesterday? What about that? That's something that you rarely see. You know, they were giving me a briefing about that. And they said normally when you're in very hostile territory, and I don't think it gets much more hostile than Iran, they're capable fighters. They're very tough people. And there are others like that. You don't mind when the enemy is weak, but that enemy is strong. Not so strong like they were about a month ago. I can tell you, in fact, right now, they're not too strong at all, in my opinion, but we're soon going to find out, aren't we? But when a thing like that happens, where a pilot's shot down, in most instances, you're really not able to go in, because you'll go in with 200 people and lots of jet fighters and helicopters, and you really don't have a chance. They get shot down. You lose 200 in order to pick up one. It's a horrible thing, but it's very rare that you can do it. And what we did yesterday is we picked up not one, we picked up two. We kept the first one quiet, and we were able to keep it quiet for about a day, which made it a lot better. But those two pilots were incredible, brave, and we thank them. And we're going to be having a news conference today at 1 o'clock at the Oval Office, and we look forward to it. But I just want to say we have a great military. We have the greatest military, the most powerful military any place in the world. You saw what happened with Venezuela. And it's an honor. I built it in my first term, and I didn't know I was going to be using it this much in my second term, but it's my honor, and they're the greatest people on earth. Our warriors are the greatest fighters on earth, and they very much appreciate you and love you, and that's why they do it. So this is all about today. I must tell you, I came out and I expected we were going to be talking about farmers, and we love our farmers. We were going to talk about so many different products, but you know what they want to talk about? Sir, this is about eggs. Eggs. Because we have the egg farmers of the entire country here, and they are unbelievable. And if you remember, when I first got elected, my first news conference with the fake news, a lot of fake news here today, but I had a news conference, and the first question, what are you going to do about eggs, sir? I said, what's wrong with eggs? I just got there. It's my second day in office at a news conference, and they were screaming at me, what am I going to do about eggs? Then I said, well, it's like, tell me what's wrong with eggs. The price was so high. It was 4 times higher than it was a year before. I said, well, that sounds like a problem. Let me think about it. And Brooke Rollins, our great Secretary of Agriculture, she got involved. We all got involved. They didn't want me, as you know, just last year, it's hard to believe, they didn't want me to order eggs for the Easter egg roll, the Easter egg hunt that we have here every year. They wanted me to use plastic. I said, I'm not using plastic. We'll get it solved. And within a short period of time, eggs came down. They came down 40%, 50%. And by the time we got there, we had so many eggs, we didn't know what to do with them. And today we have more than 40,000 eggs supplied by all of the great egg farmers that are with us. So eggs is a big thing, and it was a big thing to our great First Lady, who's here someplace. Let's see. I think this is our First Lady. What do you think of our First Lady? She's a movie star. I don't know. Do we call her First Lady or a movie star? She has the biggest movie. Can you believe this? And she deserves it. Would you like to say a couple of words to your friends?
Happy Easter Monday. I hope you enjoy this beautiful day. We are celebrating a very special Easter egg roll this year because it's 250th birthday of this beautiful nation. Enjoy it, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Thank you, honey. And she worked very hard with her staff and the staff of the White House on really just making it nice. This is the nicest I've ever seen it. So this is my 5th, and I will say that it gets better every time, right? It gets better every time. You notice the fencing is all brand new. I said, we could have bought used fencing and saved a lot of money. They said, this is for Easter, and this is for our egg farmers, and we're going to get new fencing. Everything's new and everything's beautiful, and the White House never looked better, and our country never looked better. So I just want to thank everybody. It's been a special period of time. 1 year ago, a little bit more, our country was dead. We had a dead country. We had an administration that didn't know what the hell they were doing. Today we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're respected by everybody, and that's the way we're going to keep it. That's the way we're going to keep it. So again, I want to thank all of the associations and the egg farmers and all of the people that are here. We think we could have 50,000 people coming all day long. It's open, and they expect between 30 and 50,000 people, so that's great. And most importantly, I want to just say Happy Easter and God bless America. We have the greatest country on earth. God bless you all. You are very, very special people. Thank you, everybody. Have a good time.
It's a great honor to be with you, and happy Easter. We had a great Easter. This is one of our better Easters, I think, in a lot of different ways. I can say militarily, it's been one of the best. So, good afternoon. We have quite a bit to discuss. We'll go into pretty good detail. And we have the people that are most involved. We'll give you exactitude. And we're here today to celebrate the success of one of the largest, most complex, most harrowing combat searches. I guess you would call it a search and rescue mission ever attempted by the military. Generally, when planes are knocked down in war, especially when you're fighting a strong group, an evil group, you can't really do this because you send in 200 men to pick up one. And it's something that's usually not attempted as much as you want to attempt. And bad things happen to that one or two. And in this case, we did two, and it might not have been attempted before. But we did. And we got We had great talent, but we got a little luck too, I would say. And we were helped by a lot of people, a lot of great people. And it was an honor to be involved with it. It's very historic. This is a rescue that's very historic. It'll go down in the books. Late Thursday night, an American F-15 fighter jet went down deep inside enemy territory in Iran while participating in Operation Epic Fury, where we're doing unbelievably well, well at a level that nobody's ever seen before. The entire country could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. Both members of the crew ejected from the aircraft and landed alive on Iranian soil. I immediately was asked to make a decision. I ordered the U.S. Armed Forces to do whatever was necessary to bring our brave warriors back home. A risky decision, because we could have ended up with 100 dead as opposed to 1 or 2. It's a hard decision to make. But in the United States military, we leave no American behind. We don't do it. Within hours, our armed forces deployed 21 military aircraft into hostile airspace, many flying at very low altitude, being shot by bullets. You bring rifles into play when you're going that low, but there are also certain advantages. And in broad daylight over Iran for 7 hours, at times facing very, very heavy enemy fire. We have a helicopter that's got a lot of bullets in it. It's amazing. We just realized how good those weapons are. Our machines are. Nobody has the equipment that we have, and nobody has the military that we have. Not even close. We're the most powerful military anywhere in the world by far. The flight crews and warfighters aboard those aircraft took extraordinary risks to rescue their fellow service members. This first wave of search and rescue forces successfully located the pilot of the F-15, and he was extracted from enemy territory by an HH-60 Jolly Green 2 helicopter. Fabulous machine as our warriors faced gunfire at very close range. It's amazing that when you look at the machinery, what happened, that nobody was even injured. Meanwhile, the second crew member, a weapons system officer, highly respected colonel, had landed a significant distance away from the pilot. When you're going at those speeds, even if you go out 2 or 3 seconds later, it's miles and miles away because you're going fast. He was injured quite badly and stranded in an area teeming with terrorists from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps rough group, as well as besieged militia and local authorities. Many, on top of everything else, they told the communities actually within inside of Iran, the people of Iran, they were given a tremendous incentive to find this pilot. Despite the peril, the officer followed his training and climbed into the treacherous mountain terrain and started climbing toward a higher altitude, something they were trained to do in order to evade capture. They want to always go as far away from the site of the shoot down. You want to go as far away because they all head right to that site. You want to be as far away as you can. And he was injured, and he was an amazing, amazing thing. He scaled cliff faces, bleeding rather profusely, treated his own wounds, and contacted American forces to transmit his location. They have a very sophisticated beeper-type apparatus that is on them at all times. And when they go out on these missions, they make sure they have lots of battery space, and they're in good shape. And this one worked really well, amazingly, saved his life. We immediately mobilized a massive operation to retrieve him from the mountain holdout, and he kept going higher and higher. The mountain kept getting rougher and rougher, and really very, very hard to find. The second rescue mission involved 155 aircraft, including 4 bombers, 64 fighters, 48 refueling tankers, 13 rescue aircraft, and more. We were bringing them all over, and a lot of it was subterfuge. We wanted to have them think he was in a different location because they had a vast military force out there. Thousands of people were looking. So we wanted them to look in different areas, so we were scattered all over like we were right on top of them. We had 7 different locations where they thought, and they were very confused. They said, well, wait a minute, they've got groups here, they've got groups there. It's an amazing thing. I was listening to these great people, these great generals. General Raisin Cain was amazing, and Pete Hegseth was amazing. But I listened to the whole thing. It was pretty amazing. So they had all these different sites where everybody thought he was located. We think we have him over there because they have 9 planes circling a little area that's 25 miles down the coast. So in a breathtaking show of skill and precision, lethality and force, America's military descended on the area, the real area, engaged the enemy, rescued the stranded officer, destroyed all threats, and exited Iranian territory while taking no casualties of any kind. The heroic F-15 weapons system officer had evaded capture on the ground in Iran for almost 48 hours. That's a long time when you're in tough shape and when you're bleeding. It's a long time. When we left, as you probably know, we had 2 large planes, pretty old planes that carried a lot. We needed a lot more equipment going in than coming out, obviously, because going in, we needed to be able to scale mountains, and we had a lot of equipment. But the sand was sandy, wet sand, so we thought there may be a problem taking off because of the weight of the plane, and then we also had all the men jumping back onto the planes, and they got pretty well bogged down, and we had a contingency plan, which was unbelievable, where lighter, faster aircraft came in, and they took them out. We blew up the old planes. We blew them up to smithereens because we had equipment on the planes that, frankly, we'd like to take, but I don't think it was worthwhile spending another 4 hours there taking it off. So we didn't want anybody to have, we have the best equipment anywhere in the world. We didn't want anybody examining our anti-aircraft and other equipment. So these were large planes that were old and pretty old, and we blew them up. And we had faster, lighter planes come in, and they were able to land on the sand. We needed the bigger planes because we had so much equipment that we needed. We took 3 helicopters over there, which were very strongly used and couldn't have lived without them. They performed unbelievably well. And if you'd see it, you wouldn't believe it. They came off the plane, and these guys had them. The rotors were off. They rebuilt these helicopters in less than 10 minutes. And that was one of the more amazing things. These are helicopters, small, unbelievably powerful, but small, very small, so it can get into certain areas. And they got them off the plane, and they rebuilt all 3 of them in a matter of less than 10 minutes. It's pretty amazing what the genius of these people. Who would think that? You'd think it would take 5 days to build them. And in some companies, it would take 5 days, and they wouldn't do it well. But they served us well. As Commander-in-Chief, I never forget the extraordinary risk taken by the warriors that we send into battle and the genius. I mean, think of it, having a contingency of 3 planes waiting because we think the sand is so bad that we probably won't be able to take off. And the planes really got bogged. This was not much of a runway. This was a farm, not a runway. It's a farm, but it did the trick. But to have a contingency as opposed to having to wait 2 days, can you imagine right in the middle? This was central. This was right, you would call it central casting if you were doing a movie for location. And probably the toughest area of Iran where we'd be sitting there. So these planes came in, those pilots came in so fast and so quick and got out of there. Everybody got aboard and just got 15-minute intervals. 1 load out, 1 load out, 1 load out. It happened, and we were watching, and we said, "That's amazing." It's in many ways, I was almost more impressed by the contingency that we had than the fact that if we would have had runway or decent soil, but it was an amazing thing. But we thank God for every single one of them and the talent. The genius is not even talent, it's genius. It's the whole ball game, every one of them. If you look at what we did with Maduro, we went into a military compound, a massive, with thousands and thousands of soldiers, and within a matter of minutes, and he lived behind iron doors. There were steel doors, broke them down so quickly, and within almost minutes, he was in the back of these planes. It was a similar group, incredible. We have incredibly talented people. And if the time comes, we move heaven and earth to bring them home safely. We're going to bring our people home safely. I want to thank every member of the U.S. Armed Forces involved in these historic operations. They really were historic. It's just not something that's done. And you'd understand it. Not that they don't want to do it, but when you're going into areas, when you look at these helicopters, when you look at the amount of bullets and everything else that they took, when you go into these areas, you don't come out like we came out. God was watching us, I tell you. Well, it was the Easter, we were in Easter territory, I guess, but God was watching us. Amazing. Because when you look at the machinery, they took damage. It tells you, first thing I said is, these are unbelievable machines, how they flew back and not even much of a problem. But these two extraordinary rescues, because it was two, and as you probably know, we didn't talk about the first one for an hour, and then somebody leaked something, which we'll hopefully find that leaker. We're looking very hard to find that leaker. And talked about there's somebody missing. They basically said that we have one and there's somebody missing. Well, they didn't know there was somebody missing until this leaker gave the information. So whoever it was, we think we'll be able to find it out because we're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say, national security, give it up or go to jail. And we know who, and you know who we're talking about, because some things you can't do. Because when they did that, all of a sudden, the entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life. And it also made it much more difficult for the pilots and for the people going in to search for him. All of a sudden, they know that there's somebody out there. They see all these planes coming in. It became a much more difficult operation because a leaker leaked that we have one, we've rescued one, but there's another one out there that we're trying to get. So actually, the country, Iran, put out a major notice, you all saw it, offering a very big award for anybody that captures the pilot. So in addition to a hostile, very talented, very good, very evil military, we had millions of people trying to get an award. So when you add that to it, but we have to find that leaker because that's a sick person. Probably didn't realize the extent of how bad it was. I can't imagine that the person did, but we're going to find out. It's national security, and the person that did the story will go to jail if he doesn't say, and that doesn't last long, and I think everybody would understand it. They put this mission at great risk. They put that man at great risk, and they put the hundreds of people that went in looking for him, because everyone now knows that we're going in. Over the past 37 days, America's armed forces have carried out more than 10,000 combat flights over Iran, unheard of, striking more than 13,000 targets. The F-15 we lost last week was the first manned aircraft downed by the enemy in this entire operation with thousands and thousands of flights. They got lucky. It was a lucky hit. You know, eventually you get lucky. But we got lucky, too, because we got both of them back. But it's a record that is unparalleled in the history of military air operations. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. It's such an honor to be involved with it. We were up late at night, and then we were waiting for those contingent planes to come in, and we said, come on, let's go, get in, because they're waiting out on this farm without a runway, with wet, crummy soil, sand, mostly sand, wet sand, and it eats planes alive, and we're waiting, and we're saying, I hope that one can land and take off. And they came in like magic. Boom, 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 one after another. It was like genius. I'm so impressed by that. Because we were a little concerned. We said, boy, if they don't get in and get up fast, we're sitting in the... And that's called Iran Prime, right, General? That's where the whole bet is. And here we are sitting there waiting for a plane. But they came in so fast and so hard, and these guys knew exactly what to do. Let's go, come on, get in, let's go. Bwah. They came one right after another, not at the same time. They don't want to come at the same time. They had to come right after each other. They didn't have any room. There was barely any room to land. Tiny little patch of very wet earth and sand. So I'm so proud of the people that I have standing up here with me and many others that worked. I mean, so many. Steve Witkoff's over here. He's doing fantastically. Jared Kushner. But the people that are here, the job they did is amazing. And I think I'm going to introduce the head of the CIA, and he is a man he's central casting, okay? If we cast a movie, he's going to play the head of the CIA. He's one of the few. John Ratcliffe, he did a phenomenal job that night. He did something that I don't know if you want to talk about it. If you want, you can. I'm not sure he's supposed to. I'm not going to talk about it. But the CIA was very responsible for finding this little speck. It's like they used an expression on one of the shows. A general was talking about, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, finding this pilot. And the CIA was unbelievable. And you may, if you can, you'll talk. It might be classified, in which case I'd have to put him in jail if he talks about it. And I don't want to put him in jail. He doesn't deserve that. So, John, do you want to say a few words? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a privilege to be here with you today to share what we can about this exceptional mission and to recognize the ingenuity and bravery of those who executed it, as well as the leadership and resolve of the president who ordered it. One thing that has been clear to me in this role is that the flawless military operations that the Department of War is known for are hostage to flawless intelligence. We saw that in the skies over Iran in Operation Midnight Hammer last summer. We witnessed it in Venezuela during Operation Absolute Resolve. We've seen it against the cartels in the Western Hemisphere, and we're seeing it every day in Operation Epic Fury, including this mission to rescue an aviator buried deep behind enemy lines. Because it is the unique tradition of the U.S. Armed Forces that we leave no man or woman behind, this was a no-fail mission. That was the spirit in which the president put us to work, and we were determined not to let him down or our airmen down. As an agency, the CIA possesses unique capabilities that only the president can deploy. Some of these capabilities fall under covert action authorities. And because covert means exactly that, I'm not going to be able to tell you everything that you want to know. At the president's direction, we deployed both human assets and exquisite technologies that no other intelligence service in the world possesses to a daunting challenge, comparable to hunting for a single grain of sand in the middle of a desert. This was also a race against the clock, as it was critical that we locate the downed aviator as quickly as possible, while at the same time keeping our enemies misdirected. For that reason, in addition to the human and technical assets deployed by the president to find our airmen, CIA executed a deception campaign to confuse the Iranians who were desperately hunting for our airmen. On Saturday morning, we achieved our primary objective by finding and providing confirmation that one of America's best and bravest was alive and concealed in a mountain crevice, still invisible to the enemy, but not to the CIA. That confirmation was relayed by Secretary Hegseth to the president, and the operation quickly moved to the execution phase. Following the successful exfiltration on Saturday night, our intelligence reflects that the Iranians were embarrassed and ultimately humiliated by the success of this audacious rescue mission. When the president asked me to lead the CIA, He made it clear, get back to basics, no politics, no agendas. Tackle the hardest problems and execute the toughest missions. This president is about results. And now, that's what his CIA is about too. The professionals at the agency and at the Department of War deserve immense credit for their flawless execution during this daring mission. Their skill, creativity, and courage are unmatched on the battlefield wherever they step. But none of that matters, and all of that is wasted without a president with the political courage to put them into action. Mr. President, I've had the privilege of seeing you act with political courage in the best interest of the United States up close on a daily basis, and I'm grateful that this successful mission has given the American people a window into that as well. The Secretary and Chairman will tell you that our service members' confidence is boosted by a Commander-in-Chief who has their back the same way they have yours. And I know that the confidence of CIA's officers is boosted by the knowledge that their work is informing a president who's not afraid to make the hardest decisions when the stakes are highest. And to the American people, your confidence should be boosted by knowing that the security of the nation is in the hands of a president who's willing to take on problems that have confounded both sides of the political aisle for nearly half a century. It is an honor to serve under a leader who just proved that you can believe him when he says, no matter what, we will leave no one behind. We will come for you. Thank you.
Well, John, thank you for the collaboration of the CIA as well. Incredible and ongoing partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Americans, and especially the brave warriors in our armed forces, over this Easter weekend, the United States military has once again proved why we possess the greatest fighting force the world has ever known. In two extraordinary combat search and rescue operations deep inside enemy territory in Iran, our warriors executed missions of breathtaking skill, courage, and precision. When our warriors are unleashed, as this president has allowed them to be, they are unstoppable. When American airmen were down behind enemy lines, our forces and our president did not hesitate. Special operators supported by elite air crews and intelligence professionals moved swiftly and decisively into treacherous mountain terrain under the constant threat of Iranian forces closing in. Ultimately, it was an impotent Iranian threat. And today, as the CIA director mentioned, Iran's military, and we know this, is embarrassed and humiliated, and they should be. Now, these are not routine operations. They were high-risk, high-stakes missions conducted in the heart of enemy territory. This was not just barely into Iran, this was deep into Iran, involving coordinated strikes to suppress threats, deception tactics to protect our teams, and full synchronization across air, ground, and special operations. The Iranians are still asking themselves right now, how did the Americans do this? One downed airman evaded capture for more than a day, scaling rugged ridges while hunted by the enemy. When he was finally able to activate his emergency transponder, his first message was simple, and it was powerful. He sent a message, God is good. In that moment of isolation and danger, his faith and fighting spirit shone through. You see, shot down on a Friday, Good Friday, hidden in a cave, a crevice, all of Saturday, and rescued on Sunday. Flown out of Iran as the sun was rising on Easter Sunday. A pilot reborn, all home and accounted for, a nation rejoicing. God is good. Despite incoming fire and unforgiving conditions, our troops brought every American home. No American lives were lost. We leave no man behind, and that is not luck. It's the result of unmatched training, superior technology, an unbreakable warrior ethos, and sheer American grit. Our special operators, pilots, and support crews performed with near perfection under fire, and they were lethal. Just ask any Iranian soldier who dared attempt to get anywhere near that pilot before or during that mission. Death from above. Our troops turned a potential tragedy into a resounding demonstration of American resolve and capability. That's what excellence in uniform looks like. But make no mistake about it, none of this would have been possible without the courageous leadership and ironclad determination of President Donald J. Trump. From the moment our airmen went down, President Trump made it clear we will leave no one behind. The first mission, the first of two, was an audacious daylight thunder run right up the middle. It was authorized in less than 2 hours from that pilot going down when we knew where he was. And it was authorized in the middle of the night, because anybody that's worked for this man knows he's up in the middle of the night. Authorized immediately, without hesitation, audaciously. The second mission, as soon as we knew where that pilot was, and John was certainly helpful in that, also executed immediately. You know, I looked up at my screen when the final mission was complete inside our SCIF, our secure facility. And we have a running VTC, a running coordination cell. And the top of it read 45 hours and 56 minutes. For 45 hours and 56 minutes, we held that call open for coordination. From the moment our pilots went down, our mission was unblinking. The call never dropped, the meeting never stopped, the planning never ceased. The president demanded rapid, decisive action. He backed our military with the full weight of his resolve, refusing to let enemy propaganda or tactical setbacks deter us. His leadership ensured that every lethal and non-lethal resource was brought to bear, that our forces had the authorities and the support they needed to succeed. When the president says he has the backs of our warfighters, he means it. And it means a great deal, and it's a big difference on the battlefield. President Trump understands that peace through strength is not a slogan. It is a doctrine that saves American lives. His unwavering commitment to rebuilding our military and restoring the warrior spirit has paid dividends in missions just like this one. Under his command, America projects power with confidence and brings our people home with victory. And that continues today, by the way. Per the president's direction, today will be the largest volume of strikes since day one of this operation. Tomorrow, even more than today. And then Iran has a choice. Choose wisely, because this president does not play around. You can ask Soleimani, you can ask Maduro, you can ask Khomeini. To those heroes who planned and executed these rescues, your nation stands in awe. I stand in awe. The chairman stands in awe. We all stand in awe of your professionalism and bravery. We serve for you. You embody the very best of America. To the rescued airmen and their families, welcome home. Your courage and endurance, the quiet declaration of faith amid the storm, inspires us all. God is good every day. And to our adversaries watching from Tehran, let this be a clear message. The United States military will go anywhere, at any time, to protect our own and complete the mission. We execute with precision. We control the skies. You see, we flew for 7 hours in daylight over Iran to get the first pilot. And we flew 7 hours in the middle of the night to get the second. And Iran did nothing about it. We fight with honor, and under President Trump's leadership, we win. So God bless our troops, God bless President Trump, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. A note before I start, I know many of you want specific details in these briefings. We will share what we can, but I will retain what I must in the event that we have to go do this again sometime. And I cannot stress the importance, as the President said, around operational security. The Secretary and I will do a more detailed briefing tomorrow morning, and we look forward to sharing the details that we can. On Thursday, 2 April at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:40 in the morning, local Iran time, the Joint Personnel Recovery Center, which handles the Central Command area of responsibility, declared an isolated personnel recovery event for a U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle, call sign Dude 44, which was down in hostile Iranian territory. The pilot and weapons system officer had both safely ejected and were isolated behind enemy lines. Following confirmation of active rescue beacons and on the direction of the Secretary and by order of the President, a rescue operation was launched with the stated purpose of bringing both Americans home safely. As the Secretary said several hours later on the morning after positively locating the front seater, call sign Dude 44 Alpha, and aware of an aggressive ongoing search by the enemy, a U.S. Central Command plan was approved by the Secretary and the President. Shortly thereafter, a U.S. Air Force Combat Search and Rescue Task Force comprised of A-10 Warthogs in their Sandy role, and I'll describe what that is in a minute, HC-130 Combat King 2s, HH-60 Jolly Green 2 helicopters, and Air Force Special Warfare Airmen, a package comprised of combat rescue officers and pararescueman operators, audaciously penetrated enemy territory in broad daylight to find, fix, and recover Dude 44 Alpha from behind enemy lines. This was an incredibly dangerous mission, an incredibly dangerous undertaking, but a filled promise made to every American warfighter that you will not be left behind. We will always come find you, and we will always bring you home. Over the next hours, the Search and Rescue Task Force crossed the beach, entered into Iranian airspace, protected by a fighter strike package, and moved into the objective area, all under fire. En route, as some of you have seen on social media, the helicopters took gas off the C-130s and pressed onward and forward up into the objective area. While this was ongoing and out in front of them, the Sandy flight of A-10s and other remotely piloted aircraft, drones, and other tactical aircraft were violently suppressing and engaging the enemy in a close-in gunfight to keep them away from the front seater and allow the pickup force to get into the objective area. During this engagement, one of the Sandy aircraft, the one primarily responsible for communicating with the downed pilot, was hit by enemy fire. This pilot continued to fight, continued the mission, and then upon exit, flew his aircraft into another country and determined that the airplane was not landable. This was one of our A-10 Sandy aircraft. The pilot then made the decision to eject over friendly territory and was quickly and safely recovered and is doing fine. After picking up Dude 44 Alpha, the HH-60 Jolly Green fight was engaged by every single person in Iran who had a small arms weapon. And one of the aircraft, the trailing aircraft, took several hits. The crew sustained minor injury, and they are going to be fine. A note for those of you that do not know what a Sandy does. Named after the flight call sign that did this very mission in Vietnam, flying A-1 Sky Raiders and A-7 Corsairs, a Sandy has one mission: get to the survivor, bring the rescue force forward, and put themselves between that survivor on the ground and the enemy. They are committed to this. This is what they live for, and this is what they've trained for over many, many years. The A-10 force and the rescue force did a fantastic job rescuing Dude 44 Alpha. He was recovered Friday afternoon. As I said, and the nation needs to know this, this was an incredibly brave and courageous mission, and a testament to the courage, skill, and tenacity of the joint force and our leaders. And especially a daylight option, having the guts to try, means so much to so many. Meanwhile, the backseater, as the President and the Secretary have said, had continued to work and survive. Through the hours of daylight, Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater, evaded, Using every means available, the efforts of the United States military, the Central Intelligence Agency, and others were attempting to find and locate with precision Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater. A note on the backseater and the front seater. The single most important contributor to a successful rescue operation is the spirit of attack inside the heart of that downed aviator. Their will to survive, their will to evade, their will to recover is everything. In this case, the backseater's absolute commitment to surviving made much of our efforts possible. On Saturday, 4 April, after establishing positive communications with the backseater, we learned, as the president said, that he was injured and actively evading enemy forces. And thanks to our interagency partners, we were able to get eyes on his location and positively ID him. Throughout this entire time, the enemy force continued to search for 44 Bravo, and the joint force continued to strike them over and over and over again. Fighting off marginal weather in Iran and the enemy's search for a second time on Saturday, at the recommendation of the CENTCOM commander and at the approval of the Secretary and the President, we launched a rescue task force to recover Dude 44 Bravo. Again, this came to the President and the Secretary for approval, this time with a much larger force package based on the time that the enemy had to prepare to find 44 Bravo. Again, this force was protected by A-10 Warthogs using the Sandy call sign. And this force had one single mission: do everything they can to bring an American home. This meant having a plan, being prepared to execute that plan, and, more importantly, being prepared for multiple, simultaneous contingencies. And because of this force's professionalism, grit, and determination, fight off two enemies at the same time: the enemy searching for 44 Bravo and contingencies, which anyone who has done these types of missions knows we run into every single time. The force fought off both of those enemies incredibly well. During the period of darkness on Saturday, and as the Secretary said, into Easter Sunday and into the daylight, the force fought its way in and rescued Dude 44 Bravo. They were protected overhead by an air armada, including tactical drones, strike aircraft, and others. The force fought through multiple simultaneous contingencies, something no other nation, no other military can do, and safely returned Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater, home, and all other Americans home as well. At midnight 12 local Eastern time, Easter Sunday, more than 50 hours after the start of this operation, the Joint Personnel Recovery Center declared Dude 44 Bravo, both the front and backseater, returned to friendly territory. The courage demonstrated by both the pilot and the weapons system officer while isolated and them invading the enemy cannot be overstated. Their grit and warfighting tenacity is a direct result of the absolute trust they have in our rescue forces, their training, and their will to survive and return. They always knew that we would be ordered to go get them, and they always knew that we would be coming to get them. These two operations reflect our nation's most sacred obligation to our military service members. We leave no one behind, bless you. It also perfectly captures the first truth of our special operations forces, that people are more important than hardware. That is the standard we live by, and the rescue forces that execute these missions operate under a clear motto: these things we do that others may live. Their actions were a direct embodiment of that commitment to others, and I could not be more proud of each and every one of them today. As the Secretary said to our enemies, this operation serves as a clear reminder of the capability and will of America's joint force. The United States of America will recover our warfighters anywhere in the world, under any conditions, when we want to. We will always bring overwhelming skill and firepower. To every member of the Joint Force, our interagency partners, the leadership at CENTCOM, and our leaders at the department and above, thank you. I'm proud of each and every one of you and thankful to our deployed forces and their families. And lastly, and most importantly, to Dude 44, welcome home. Job well done. Thank you.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And these two gentlemen have been, from day one, they've been perfecto. You know, I got to know General Kane in my first term because he was able to take out ISIS in 4 weeks instead of the 4-year projection that was given to me by other much lesser generals. I said, you know, if I ever do this again, that's going to be the head of my Joint Chiefs of Staff. And we worked it that way, didn't we? It's amazing. He took out ISIS. We defeated ISIS in 4 weeks. I was told it would take 4 years. I flew to Iraq to find out with the greatest equipment in the world, why would it take 4 years? And he told me, sir, it won't. It'll take 4 weeks and you'll have time left over. And that's exactly what happened. So he's great. And Pete, all I can say is that he was treated very unfairly. And now those same people that treated him unfairly, that fought against him, they called me up saying, what a great choice he was. They said, well, what happened during his nomination? What happened to you? I'm telling you, people that were not for him, senators, friends of mine, sir, I don't think you're doing the right thing. Now they're calling me up. What a choice. These two guys are fantastic. And John Ratcliffe was incredible. It was actually their genius that called us from, it was 40 miles away. And he said, you know, we're seeing something moving up in the mountain. This is at night. And they kept the camera on him for 45 minutes. It wasn't moving. And they said, you know, probably wrong, but we're seeing something moving. This is a vast mountain, vast, thick, with bushes, trees. He said, we see something moving 40 miles away. It was the head of a human being, I'm telling you, it's moving. And then all of a sudden, 45 minutes later, he moved a lot. He stood up, and they said, we have him. And that was really the beginning of something incredible. We had an idea where he was, but not specifically. And it's a big mountain. So I want to thank the CIA, too. I don't think they get enough credit for the great job they've done. Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for this great opportunity. Country, it has super army. You make a difference, Mr. President. Thank you for your greatest leadership.
Thank you.
I have 2 quick questions, Mr. President. What was your reaction when you learned that Kurdistan region had resumed exporting oil to the international market with your support as United States of America?
Well, I expected that. We've gotten along with the Kurds for a long time, so I expected that.
Another question, what would be your reaction if the Iranian people rise up against their regime during a ceasefire, Mr. President?
Well, they should do it, but again, the consequences are great. I mean, they were told, if you protest, you will be shot immediately. You saw what happened to the young wrestler. He was a great champion, by the way. He was a great wrestler, one of the top in the world. And he and his 2 friends were hung. And all they did was say a little bit about liberty. They wanted liberty, and they were violently executed. But the number is up to probably 45,000 people were killed. So, you know, when somebody stays in a house, when they know if they walk out of the house to protest, they'll be immediately shot and killed. And they issued that, you know, that was publicly issued. It's not a secret. That's why so many people say, oh, well, why are you doing this way? We can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You know, we got regime change. We do. We're dealing with a much different regime than before. We're dealing with different people. They're smarter. I think they're sharper and far less radical. We have regime change, but we didn't do this for regime change. We did it for the fact, and my view was very simple. I saw somebody said, oh, he doesn't have a plan. I have the best plan of all, but I'm not going to tell you what my plan is. You know, they want me to say, Here's my plan. We're going to attack at 9:47 in the morning, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to. And if you don't do that, they say, I have a plan. These people know what the plan is. Everybody here knows what the plan is. But it's very unfair to say, because I don't mind being insulted. I've been insulted for many years by the fake news. But you can't. It's so bad for people that are so you just saw two great and John Ratcliffe, three unbelievable people. They have a plan. Every single thing has been thought out by all of us. But I can't reveal the plan to the media. So, but we're just thrilled by the success of this operation. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've said Iranians would be mad if you stopped these attacks, but why would they want you to blow up their infrastructure, to cut off their power? Wouldn't that be punishing Iranians for the actions of the regime?
They would be willing to, and it's suffering, they would be willing to suffer that in order to have freedom. The Iranians have, and we've had numerous intercepts. Please keep bombing. Bombs that are dropping near their homes. Please keep bombing. Do it. And these are people that are living where the bombs are exploding. And when we leave and we're not hitting those areas, they're saying, please come back, come back, come back. These are the people. I don't know what they do. All I can tell you is they want freedom. They have lived in a world that you know nothing about. It's a violent, horrible world where if you protest, you are shot. Remember the great woman protests where they had 400,000, 500,000 women, and they were all enthused and they were going to protest, and everybody said, oh, the regime's going to come to an end. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, 5, 6 different areas. A woman would go down right between the eyes. They had snipers. They had 5 snipers. That's all it took. And those 400,000 or 500,000 women said, oh, my God, what's that? Oh, look over there. What's that? A woman shot right between the eyes. And boom, boom, 5, 6 different areas. A woman would go down right between the eyes. They had snipers. They had 5 snipers. That's all it took. And those.
I changed the feed so that you can see the reporters as they ask questions. And the Fox feed is a little bit behind what we were showing you before. So let me just get back to that.
Then you start hearing the purr through the vast number of people. And then they said, oh, my God, who would do that? And they're incredible people, but they've lived so horribly. They've lived so horribly. You know, Iran was a great country if you go back 25 years ago or so. The Persian people, they're incredible, smart, brilliant, actually. And I know so many. I know coming from New York, originally, I know so many people from Iran. They're incredible people, incredible energy, and very, very brilliant people. But when you're standing in a group and protesting and you have a woman, in the case of a woman, remember the Great Woman March, everybody was saying, oh, this is the end of the country. And then snipers selectively picked. Every single one was shot right between the eyes from a long distance. They were on top of buildings. Nobody even knew where they were, where they're coming from. This wasn't like a machine gun, which is also very bad. They've done that too. They did that recently. This was snipers sitting on the top of buildings, aiming and hitting women. And when they see people go down, and all of a sudden there's a riot in the reverse direction, and they never came out again. And a lot of the news doesn't talk about that. They talk about, oh, women's rights. You want to see women's rights? You're not going to see it there. It's amazing when I see some of the stupid people like, AOC plus 3, all that group. They talk about, oh, freedom for Iran. They don't tell you the real facts. Women, men, gays. How about gays for Iran? They kill the gays. They throw them off buildings. So I wonder what's going on. I can only say this. They want us to keep bombing, even if it jeopardizes, because their life is in much greater danger. They want freedom for Iran, but it's very hard for them to protest. I actually tell them, I said, don't go out. I fully understand. Nobody in this room would go out. I don't think there's any, because frankly, it's not a question of bravery. We're all brave, right? You're brave, I'm brave, we're all brave. But we're also intelligent. If you have people shooting at you, expert shots with the best rifles you can get and hitting you right between the eyes every single time. And you're looking here and you're seeing and you're looking here. You're out of there. I don't care who it is.
Mark Meredith, Fox News.
I know that.
Oh, thank you.
How would I know that? Go ahead.
America's watching. No,
good job.
Can we go back to the weekend? First off, was everyone on board with the operation, or were there people that were trying to talk you out of going through with the operation this weekend?
Not everybody was on board.
Somebody else within?
No, there was military people, very professional, that preferred not doing it. These two were totally on board, which was very important. They weren't, it would have had a little difficulty. But no, there were military people that said, you just don't do this. You don't go into the heart of a very powerful military. You know, this is, hey, you have countries and countries. You have some countries where military is not their strong suit. This whole thing is militarized like nobody's ever seen before. Half the people are wearing uniforms. And we had people within the military. Usually it's not done. That's one of the reasons. You know, I was surprised. Somebody said it's the only time it's ever been done. I said, that's not possible. But it is possible because you're going into hundreds of thousands of soldiers along the path. I mean, look at some of the helicopters, how they got hit. So, yeah, there were people within the military that said it's a wise. And don't forget, how many men did you send altogether, approximately, for the operation?
I'd love to keep that a secret.
Okay, well, we but I will tell you, the number, I'll keep it a secret, but it was hundreds and hundreds of these people. It's pretty good. Is he central casting? But hundreds of people went into this journey. Hundreds of people could have been killed. Forget about the equipment, a lot of equipment, nobody cares. Hundreds of people could have been killed. So we had people that were within the military that said this is not a wise, and I understood that, but I decided to do it.
Was there a point that that you were thinking there's too much on the line, and somebody was saying maybe we abort this now and wait? I mean, given the resource, like the general said, it seemed like there was so much on the line here. You must have been thinking, well, this could have completely changed.
So the first one, which was in many ways as dangerous as the second, I guess it gets, because we're flying over daylight. You know, we're the best at the world at night. We have goggles that nobody. We have goggles. I've tried them. They're unbelievable. I see better with the goggles at night than I see without them during daylight. I mean, daylight today, we have a beautiful day. You see just as well with goggles. In many ways, it's enhanced. So we have the best in the world. So it's much safer for us to do it at night. Whereas other people, no other country has that capability. They don't have that particular piece of equipment like we do. But when I was told flying and in daylight, I think we flew 7 hours over Iran, and that's a long time, over unbelievably hostile territory where they have nothing but weapons. We took out their anti-aircraft, which is great. We took out their radar, which is great. We took out a lot, but they still have, you know, what hit this one was a handheld shoulder missile, heat-seeking missile. So it's not like, you know, they're totally whatever. And they have probably a little luck, because you got to get lucky. But they shot it, and it got sucked in right by the engine. But these guys were out of there. They were great. Their timing was great. But no, I was told that this is a very dangerous mission. I understand. They didn't say it's a foolish mission. They said, you know, we're going to be sacrificing hundreds of people do this. This is, I mean, you have tankers that are flying over this area so that because the flight was so long, they had to refuel. It's a very dangerous mission. I just felt it was worth it. If you would have told me that we would have been successful, gotten both, and nobody was even essentially injured, I would have said that would be impossible. Yeah, Bruce.
Mr. President, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Given that you are now dealing, you say, with a more reasonable, less extreme leadership in Iran, what does that mean for the protesters, for the human rights movement in that country after this conflict?
Well,
What's your
positive.
expectation?
Yeah, if they assume control, if we do something and they assume control, I think it's very positive, a big step. I don't think you'd see the radicalization that you have seen in the last. Look what happened. I mean, women are being executed because they're not properly clothed, they say. They're not properly clothed, and they execute the women. They shoot them right on the street. No, you have a much different group of people. Now, I'm not saying we are dealing with them. Essentially, they have till 8 o'clock tomorrow night, Eastern time. But we are dealing with them. I think it's going well. Mr. Witkoff is here, and JD's involved in the dealing. Mr. Witkoff is sitting right here, and I think it's going fine, but we'll have to see. You have to understand, we've been dealing with these people for 47 years. I'm standing here with a much more powerful Iran as of a month ago, not anymore. Right now, they are decapitated. But I'm standing here a month ago with a much more powerful Iran than it was at any point during 47 years. This should have been handled by 7 presidents, a lot of presidents. And those presidents are saying now, every one of them to their friends, we should have done this a long time ago. So it's not something I like doing. It's very dangerous, and we're getting them at the height of their strength. If I didn't terminate the Barack Hussein Obama Iran nuclear deal, they would have had don't forget, that was a path to a nuclear weapon. Remember this. He chose Iran over Israel, pure and simple. How Israel can vote for a Democrat is if you're Jewish in New York City or any place else in this country, and how you can vote for a Democrat is unbelievable, because he chose Iran, a very hostile Iran. Remember when he filled up a 757 with cash, billions of dollars of cash, and he sent it over to them. Then they gave them tens of billions of dollars. He chose Iran over Israel and really the Arab world, if you look, because, you know, the other, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, I mean, you take a look. I mean, I can add Kuwait and I can add Bahrain, and you can add others. He chose such an unlikely candidate. Nobody could believe it. Frankly, if you're going to choose between Iraq and Iran, he should have befriended Iraq. He went in the exact opposite direction of all thinking, and he made a terrible mistake. But that was a road to a nuclear weapon. And when I terminated that, everyone said, oh, he terminated it. It was one of the best things we ever did, because he had a road to a nuclear weapon. And it was a very short-term deal. You know, countries don't do 10-year deals. Countries do hundreds of years. You don't do a 10-year deal. For a country, you need, this isn't, you're a landlord and you're renting a store on a certain street, and you give somebody a 5-year or 10-year lease. This is a country. It was a short-term deal. It was ready to expire. I terminated it before it expired. Took a lot of heat, and it was one of the best things I ever did, because he would have had a nuclear weapon. Then he would have had another nuclear weapon, had those beautiful B-2 bombers not gone in 8 months ago, and obliterated that site. And by the way, the word is obliteration. CNN said, well, maybe it wasn't complete. It was so complete that they still haven't been able to get it. It was obliteration. But if we didn't hit them, that was a courageous decision, too, because we had all those planes flying in at night with very little cover, unbelievable stealth planes, and they were able to do their job. If we didn't do that, Iran would have had a nuclear weapon at a high level, either one of those two instances. And if they did, in my opinion, I told this to Bibi Netanyahu yesterday, Israel would have been extinguished. Large portions of the Middle East would have been extinguished, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, or others. And you saw that with thousands of missiles raining down upon them. They didn't think they were going to be hit. They thought they'd be watching us fight. And all of a sudden, UAE got hit by 1,500 missiles. He would have taken them out also. And they were powerful. If I didn't come along and terminate the Obama deal, which was terrible, the Iran nuclear deal was a road to a nuclear weapon, a big one, unlimited, legally. I terminated it without even much thought. It was so easy. I terminated that, and then the B-2 bombers. And I did one other thing. I had killed Qasem Soleimani, who was an evil genius. And the reason I did it, I heard he was going to knock out 5 of our military bases. And had he lived, I believe we would be fighting perhaps a different Iran right now, because he's never been replaced, you know. And I did one other, but this one was not picked up. Osama bin Laden. If you read my book, I said you got to take him out 1 year before the World Trade Center came down. So I wish you'd read the book. But you, as a president, to be a good president, I believe you have to have good instincts. And a lot of this is instinct. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much for taking my question, Mr. President. Last week you suggested that Europe should take the lead on reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Has circumstances changed now that you're issuing a direct 48-hour ultimatum? And secondly, would a new ceasefire include Israel, or would it just be between Iran and the
I can't
U.S.?
talk about ceasefire, but I can tell you that we have a active, willing participant on the other side. They would like to be able to make a deal. I can't say any more than that. But
Mr. President, you've listed the goals. Excuse me.
Please, go ahead.
You've listed the goals.
Who are you with? Who are you with?
My name is Diar Kurdan with the largest Kurdish media outlet, Ruda Media Network. It's based in Iran.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, you said before that you don't want the Kurdish forces to enter Iran and be harmed. Do you still want them to stay away? Or what role do you expect them to play now?
I'd rather have them stay away.
And then
I'd rather have them stay away because I think they bring with them some problems and some difficulties. And I don't think they bring death, to themselves. But I'd rather have them stay away. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the question. Deliberate attacks on civilian infrastructure violate the Geneva Conventions and international law.
Who are you with?
I'm with the New York Times. Zolan from the New York Times. Are you
failing?
Are you concerned?
Circulation way down at the New York Times.
Are
What's
you
going
concerned
on
that your threat to bomb power plants and bridges amount to
No, not at all. No, I'm not. I hope I don't have to do it. But again, I just said 47 years they've been negotiating with these people. They're great negotiators, and because they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And if somebody that takes my place someday is weak and ineffective, which possibly that will happen because we had numerous presidents that were weak, ineffective, and afraid of Iran, we're never going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And if you think it's okay for people that are sick of mind, that are tough, smart, and sick, really sick, from a policy standpoint, from a any which way you want to say, mentally, these are disturbed people. If you think I'm going to allow them, and powerful and rich, to have a nuclear weapon, you can tell your friends at the New York Times, not going to happen.
Violating international law.
Quiet. You no longer have credibility at the New York Times. And, Trump won't win the election, and I won in a landslide. I won every swing state. New York Times said, Trump won't win the election. New York Times has no credibility. The credibility they have is it used to be all the news that's fit to print. The old gray lady, it was great, but they're running on past fumes, and you can't keep doing that. You have to be able to give the correct news. And people like you, who I know, are fake. You're fake. Go ahead, please.
Your messaging on the war has moved from the war is coming to an end to war going to be bombing Iran to the Stone Ages. Right. And we've heard a range of those kind of messages. So which is it? Are you winding this down, or are you escalating it?
I can't tell you. I don't know. I can't tell you. It depends what they do. This is a critical period. They have a period of, till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I gave them an extension. They asked for an extension of 7 days, right? I said, Steve, give them 10 days. 10 days is up actually today, so I gave them 11, I guess, indirectly. I thought it was inappropriate the day after Easter. I want to be a nice person. They have till tomorrow. Now, we'll see what happens. I can tell you they're negotiating, we think, in good faith. We're going to find out. We're getting the help of some incredible countries that want this to be ended because it affects them also. A lot of people are affected by this, but we're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and after that, they're going to have no bridges, they're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah, Stone Ages.
CNN fake news.
Are you willing to make a deal that does not include reopening the Strait of Hormuz, or is that now a top priority?
I would say it's a very big priority because, see, that's one thing that's a little different than other things. We can bomb the hell out of them. We can knock them out for a loop. But to close the strait, all you need is one terrorist that somehow has a truck loaded with, because you can carry them in trucks, large trucks, a water mine, drop them in the water, and now you tell people that own ships that cost $1 billion to don't worry about the mine. You can do that even just by saying we put mines in the water. So it's not like the rest. We can knock out their military. We already have. We've knocked out their Navy. We've knocked out their Air Force completely. We've knocked out 158 ships in 3 days. We've knocked out even their mine droppers. They don't have any mine droppers anymore, but they put them on other boats, and they could drop them. I'm not even sure they have any mines there, by the way. I'm not sure. I'm personally, they say there might be 8. I don't know. I think there might be none because they're very good bullshit artists. That's why for 47 years they've been bullshitting other presidents, and they haven't done the job. And people are living in hell. You live in that country, they're living in hell. No, I think that 47 years of this stuff is long enough. They're at the weakest point they've ever been. They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft weaponry, they have no radar, they have no communication. In fact, the biggest problem we have in our negotiation is that they can't communicate. I said to Steve, what are they saying? Sir, they can't communicate. They have no method of communication. So we're communicating like they used to communicate 2,000 years ago with children, bringing a note back and forth. They have no communication. But all I want to see is I want to have a safe world, and you're not going to have a safe world. Israel will be gone. The Middle East will be gone. And then they're coming for Europe. And I have to tell you, I'm very disappointed in NATO, very. I think that NATO, I think it's a mark on NATO that will never disappear in my mind. You know, they're coming to see me on Wednesday. They're going to say, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. Now they all of a sudden want to send things, you know. But they said it loud and clear at the beginning. When I spoke to UK of all, I would have said they would have been the first because they're the oldest. And I say, yeah, I'd love to have a little help. He said, no, sir, we'd rather wait till you win. I said, I don't need help after we win. They have 2 old broken aircraft carriers, barely work. I said, I guess we can use them. Who the hell knows? I called the general. He didn't even want them. He said, we don't really need them. We got the SS Abraham Lincoln, sir. We don't need them. Do you know, we have, in terms of technology, we had one day 101 missiles going at 2,700 miles an hour, aimed at the Abraham Lincoln. 101 missiles. Out of 101 missiles, 101 missiles were shot down. Unbelievable technology. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't know if that would have been possible, but 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been possible. 101 missiles heading to a ship that's not that far off the coast. And out of the 101 missiles, we shot down all 101. We have weaponry. The Patriots are unbelievable. We have weaponry that's unbelievable, yeah.
Just to clarify.
Go ahead, please. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said earlier today during the egg roll that you would like to take Iran's oil, but Americans want U.S. forces home.
Correct.
What's that trade-off?
If I had my choice, yeah, because I'm a businessman first. With Venezuela, as you know, the war was over in about 45 minutes. And we have great people running Venezuela, very good people. I mean, the relationship is good. And we are a partner with Venezuela. And we've taken hundreds of millions of barrels, hundreds of millions. Over 100 million barrels already is in Houston, refined and out. And paid for that war many, many times over, many times over. You know, the old days, to the victim. Okay, you know that. To the winner belong the spoils, go the spoils. And I've said, why don't we use it? To the victor, go the spoils. And we don't have that. We haven't had that in this country probably in 100 years, because even the Second World War, you look at the Second World War,
We didn't have it with the Second World. We helped rebuild all those countries. We rebuilt Germany. How about Germany telling us that, well, it's not their war. We had nothing to do with it. They wanted me to go and tell them everything I was doing. We didn't know anything about it. Well, if I would have told them, they would have leaked it, and we wouldn't have been nearly as successful, possibly, right? But to the victor belong the spoils. So we haven't heard that in, I think, maybe hundreds of years. Now with Venezuela, and we, just so you understand, the people of Venezuela, they say if I ran for president of Venezuela, I'm polling higher than anybody has ever polled in Venezuela. So after I'm finished with this, I can go to Venezuela. I will quickly learn Spanish. It won't take too long. I'm good at language. And I will go to Venezuela. I'm going to run for president. But we're very happy with the president-elect that we have right now. The people that are running it. If you remember Bush with Iraq, they fired the generals, they fired the police, they fired the people that worked in their equivalent of the White House. They fired everybody. And you know what they had? They had a mess. And you know what happened? ISIS formed. Those generals and those soldiers got together, the police got together, they all got together, they formed ISIS. Not going to happen with us. So Venezuela has been an incredible situation. We went in, we were very successful, military power like nobody's ever seen. The general, Venezuelan general said, I was on that site. I said, I've never seen ferocity like that. I've been doing this for 40 years. He said, I've never seen it. They hit us from 17 different, they were all set. They saw that big, beautiful aircraft carrier, the Ford in that case, and planes were pouring off it at 1 o'clock in the morning. So typically when you see that late at night, you know you could be in trouble, right? And we were all ready. They had their equipment. It was Russian. And they had Chinese equipment. It was all set. They were going to give us a fight. He said, and then they came, and they came at speeds like we've never seen. And they came at 17 different angles. The general and his people, that was a lot of angles. They hit him from every angle. He said, we knew it was over in 3 minutes. We were waiting for them. Their equipment didn't work. And there's a reason it didn't work. Someday we'll explain that to people. They pressed the button, nothing happened. They pressed it again and again, nothing happened. And he said, we knew this whole thing was over in 3 minutes. We've never seen any, he used the word ferocity. The ferocity of these planes from 17 different angles, and it was over. They went inside. And remember, that was on a military base with thousands of soldiers. And those soldiers looked and they said, get the hell out of here. Thousands. We didn't have thousands. We had like 200 people. So we have a great military. And I'll tell you what, somehow this rescue captured the world's attention, more so than normally. You're talking about 2 people. But this rescue captured the world's attention. But we did it in Venezuela. That was amazing. And now we have a very bad man in prison and going to trial. I mean, he released, aside from the drugs, which he was terrible, Maduro released hundreds of thousands of people from jails into our country. Drug dealers, murderers, the worst people in the world were released into our country because we had a stupid president who probably didn't know, and we had a border czar who never went to the border and never once called our great Border Patrol agents, right? Not once, Kamala. She never called the Border Patrol. She never said, how are we doing? I used to call the Border Patrol guys every day. You can ask them, Paul, ask any one of them. Brandon, ask them all the time, how are we doing? How are we doing? And we now, I'm proud to say, have a totally sealed border. 9 months, nobody is coming through our border. And nobody even tries because they know they're not going to get through. So we don't have caravans anymore. So maybe 1 or 2 more and we'll be done.
Mr. President, are you allowed to, or are you willing to end this conflict with Iran charging tolls for passage through the strait?
Us charging tolls?
Iran.
What about us charging tolls?
Is that something you're considering?
I'd rather do that than let them have them, right? Why shouldn't we? We're the winner. We won, okay? They are militarily defeated. The only thing they have is the psychology of, oh, we're going to drop a couple of mines in the water, all right? No, we have a concept where we'll charge tolls, okay? I thought you meant us. Your question would have been more accurate if you said us. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So just to clarify, in order for Iran to successfully meet your deadline tomorrow, do they have to make a deal, open the strait, or both?
We have to have a deal that's acceptable to me. And part of that deal is going to be we want free traffic of oil and everything else.
Mr.
President, thank you very much. You've said glory be to God in this conflict. Do you believe that God supports the United States' actions in this
I do,
war?
because
And have you
God
sought
is
his direction?
good. Because God is good, and God wants to see people taken care of. God doesn't like what's happening. I don't like what's happening. Everyone says I enjoy it. I don't enjoy this. I don't enjoy it. These two guys don't enjoy it. You know, people say, "Oh boy, they're so tough." I don't like seeing people killed. I've ended 8 wars. Nobody's ever done it. The person who won the Nobel Prize came to me and said, "You deserve the Nobel Prize." She announced that when they announced, they said, "Goes to Maria. She's a great person, really a good person." She said, "No, no, no. This is ridiculous. They gave me the Nobel Prize. President Trump ended 8 wars. I could go over every one of them, including India and Pakistan, where the Prime Minister of Pakistan said, President Trump saved from 30 to 50 million lives. That makes me much happier than what we're doing right now. That makes me much happier. We have one more to end, by the way.
President, you called yesterday in your Truth Social, you called the Iranians crazy bastards.
True.
What is your response to critics who say that
I don't care about critics.
What is your response to critics who say that it is your mental health that should perhaps be examined as this war continues?
I haven't heard that. But if that's the case, you're going to have more people like me, because our country was being ripped off on trade, on everything, for many years until I came along. So if that's the case, you're going to have more people. Dasha, go ahead.
You said that very little is off limits in Iran as far as targeting, including power plants, bridges. You've mentioned those.
Very little is off limits.
Are there certain kinds of civilian targets, though? I'm thinking schools
I don't want to
or
tell you that.
hospitals that you.
I don't want to tell you that. We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. We don't want that to happen. We may even get involved with helping them rebuild their nation. And you know what? If that's the case, the last thing we want to do is start with power plants, which are among the most expensive things, and bridges. You saw the bridge. The bridge went. We were very close to a deal. And then I got a call from Mr. Witkoff, Mr. Kushner, and JD saying, I think they're breaking the deal. I said, tell them that's okay. Don't worry about it. But tell them to look out their window and watch. And within 45 minutes, I gave the order to knock out the biggest bridge. I gave the order, knock out the biggest bridge in, I believe, the Middle East, but the biggest bridge in Iran. And within 10 minutes after I gave that order, that bridge was over. So do I want to do that? No. Do I want to destroy their infrastructure? No. It will take them 100 years to rebuild. Right now, if we left today, it would take them 20 years to rebuild their country, and it would never be as good as it was. And the only way they're going to be able to rebuild their country is to utilize the genius of the United States of America.
You voiced your displeasure with NATO in the past. Is there a danger to the U.S. not being the de facto of the leader of the alliance, and then other powers within the alliance then getting the decision making when it comes to wars and nuclear weapons?
No, it's not a danger. Look, we went to NATO. I didn't ask very strongly. I just said, hey, if you want to help, great. No, 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 we will not help. I said, that's all right. You don't want to help? Because I've always said NATO's a paper tiger. See, NATO's a paper tiger. Putin's not afraid of NATO. Putin's afraid of us, very afraid of us. And he's explained it to me a lot of times. I got to know him very well. I know him very well. NATO's a paper tiger. NATO is us. And when we needed them, but we didn't need them, by the way. We didn't need them, obviously, because they haven't helped at all. Just the opposite. They've actually gone out of their way not to help. They didn't even want to give us landing strips. Think of it. And it's not just NATO. You know who else didn't help us? South Korea didn't help us. You know who else didn't help us? Australia didn't help us. You know who else didn't help us? Japan. We've got 50,000 soldiers in Japan to protect them from North Korea. We have 45,000 soldiers in South Korea to protect us from Kim Jong-un, who I get along with very well, as you know. Do you notice he said very nice things about me? He used to call Joe Biden a mentally retarded person, okay? So don't tell me about your stuff. Joe Biden, he said he's a mentally retarded person. He was so nasty to Joe Biden. It was terrible. But to me, he likes Trump. And do you notice how nice things are with North Korea? It's very nice. But we have 45,000 people, soldiers, in harm's way, and right next to Kim Jong-un with a lot of nuclear weapons. 45, which should have never happened if a certain president, I'm not going to mention this president because I happen to like him, believe it or not, but if a certain president did his job, Kim Jong-un would not have nuclear weapons right now. But they were all afraid to do their job properly. But just to conclude and just to finish, Japan didn't help us, Australia didn't help us, South Korea didn't help us, and then you get to NATO. NATO didn't help us. There were some countries that did. Now, countries that have been good, now you could also say they're got to be a little bit more involved because they're in the territory, but Saudi Arabia has been excellent. Qatar has been excellent. UAE has been excellent. Bahrain, Kuwait. I mean, Kuwait did shoot down 3 of our planes. The only planes, really, that we lost with friendly fire, they call it. I call it unfriendly fire. They unfortunately didn't know how to use our great Patriots. The pilot said, what kind of a missile's coming at us? Patriot. Boom, they got out. Because they know a Patriot never misses. So they had beautiful Patriots. There were planes heading in their direction. Unfortunately, they decided to shoot those planes. They were our planes. So, NATO is a paper tiger. Now, he's coming to see me on Wednesday, as you know. He's a wonderful guy. Secretary General is great. And Mark Rutte, he's a great person, but he's got, and it all began with, if you want to know the truth, Greenland. We want Greenland. They don't want to give it to us, and I said, bye-bye. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, so President Trump spoke for about an hour and 20 minutes or so. Took a whole bunch of questions. Did you notice that the press wasn't their normal idiot self like they are with Caroline? Because he takes no crap from these people, none whatsoever. A couple of them tried to raise their heads and boom, he just slapped them down. Unbelievable. All right, so if you were sitting at a table right now playing poker with President, let me ask, is SV here? SV plays poker. Hold on, is he around? Let me put this question to him. I don't see him. Is he in here? There he is. All right, you're a poker player. You're a poker player, right?
Absolutely, many years.
You did very well when I sat down with you.
Yeah.
If you're a poker player and you just heard the President of the United States say what he said, and you're Iran, are you folding or are you going to try to push your chips in?
I am folding immediately because he has 4 aces. I know he has the winner. There's no way to beat him.
No. It looks like the media is like, oh, please, you're not really going to blow him to smithereens, are you? I don't want to have to, but I will. I don't want to have to take your money. I don't want to take all those chips. Actually, SV was pretty fine taking all your chips, just to let you guys know. He didn't have any compassion whatsoever. He's an assassin at the poker table. But in any event,
I love it.
There's no way, after what I heard right now, if Iran was sitting around in their conference room and they heard that, they should be running to negotiate and come up with a deal. There's no way. No. And and also it seems like you're getting more problems from the press here, the people here who are limp-wristed. But
oh my gosh, the prostitutes. I mean, that's expected. We knew it was going to be a crazy, question situation in there. I mean, I love your meme, Barrett. You got to keep putting those like slap. I mean, just that's all it is. I mean,
they made me make those. I'm like, you people are so stupid. And the Kid and Play dude with the eraser head. I mean, you got a shot to ask the leader of the free world a question, and that's what you ask him? You think this is a war crime? No. You know what would be a war crime? If I stepped off this podium and backslapped you. That would
I'm
be
telling you, there's definitely a lot of low T in that press side. You know, a lot of low T. Or as you would say, light in the loafers.
Very light in the loafers. Now, he just mentioned, you guys saw tomorrow, I guess, Raising Cane and Pete are going to do a press conference. They're going to probably do their normal breakfast press conference. Well, I'll record it and show it tomorrow. But wow, absolutely. All right. Thank you. Going to cut away. All right. Whew, man. Yeah, and he does play poker like that, by the way. Smile at you while he's sticking a knife in you the whole time, just taking it from you. Anyway, President Trump talked a long time. I'm going to see you guys tonight at 7 or 7:30. I'll post it. I'm going to talk to you about General Patton and President Trump, and I'm sure there'll be some other news along the way as well. So let me go to Super Chats so I can go rest my throat so I can talk more tonight. All right, so we got this from, hold on, Starfleet. I've been listening to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon since Artemis 2 launched. Yeah. You realize this is the first time anybody has ever seen the so-called backside of the moon. No human has ever laid eyes on the backside, dark side of the moon. I can't wait to see what they find. Julie, thank you. John, thank you. George, for some reason, I don't think the president will be led around by his bunny handler. Nope, no, not at all. I was wondering if there's any significance between a white bunny and a brown bunny today. I'm going to look and see if there's any message there as well. Maybe not, but I'm going to look it up. Macon, he is a boss among bosses. That's my president. That is indeed true. Again, am I understanding this right? Both pilots were rescued at the same time. I don't know. It sounded like they were saying one happened first and then the other one happened after that. But whoever this guy is on whatever media outlet that went ahead and decided they were going to leak it, oh man, I'd hate to be that guy right about now. His life is about to be ruined, deservedly so. I feel like the Grinch who went his heart through 10 times to save Christmas. If you watch him right there and you watch Pete exit and you watched General Raising Cane, if you watch that and didn't feel, and John Ratcliffe, if you didn't feel something strong about being an American today, then you're probably not ever going to feel that American feeling. John Robinson, love your show, Mega Family. We have to crush out the sick people in November. Absolutely. Deborah, a woman is talking about AC/DC's song, Big Balls. I got big balls. That's a great song. Great song. Chiosop, Obama excitedly offered to help negotiate with Iran. He'll even bring his own knee pads, especially when he heard the new the new Ayatollah is gay. Oh man, that's a good one. No Dems allowed. I heard with my own ears an Iranian woman say, "We're only afraid when the bombs stop." Broke my heart. Wow. You know, when he was talking about, you know, the women being shot in the head and calling out how they were killing women who were protesting, you have to wonder to yourself, what did the women in the press room think? Every single woman who was in that press room, hearing him describe these women being hit with a sniper bullet right in the face, did it not make them think, well, these guys are kind of bad? When he told the guy who, you know, the Kid and Play haircut, hey, they're tossing people like you off of, well, he didn't say that, but they're tossing people off of buildings. Did it make them sit back and think, maybe those are the bad guys? You know, it's got to hit home if you've got any sort of compassion. If you're a woman hearing about women getting killed, and if you're, lighting the loafers and you hear about them tossing people off buildings, does it not for a second make you go, oh man, Trump is actually the good guy, isn't he? Yeah. Yes. How can there be war crimes against people who are savages like that? Back to Prokofsky. Happy Monday to you, and thank you. Captain Danny, Barry, your opinion on Japan not helping, please. He mentioned that a couple times. And meanwhile, the Prime Minister, when she came here, he was very, very enthusiastic and close, and she basically pledged to send help over. So I wonder, did she rescind on that? I'm going to have to look that up. Redeemed, Barry Slappy Cunningham. Oh man, these reporters cause that. And Marcus, God, please keep blessing America. I completely agree. All right, so I'm gonna go drink some hot tea. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see if they're showing the lunar flyby right now, but there's no pictures. I'm going to put the after party on, and if I can find it in the feed, I'll see if I can bring on the Artemis thing. If not, I can show some of that tonight. In any event, see you guys tonight. Wait a minute. I might have it here. I'm not really sure what they're doing, but this is Mission Control. And
this is Artemis Mission Control. We are standing by for the beginning of lunar flyby.
All right. So you know what I'll do?
I know that to start in just a few minutes when the crew will begin a warm-up discussion, preparing for the day. They will be capturing images along while discussing what they find familiar about the moon and what looks unexpected to them.
So maybe I'll put up a poll if you'd like to see me leave this up. I'll leave it up at least as long as what the after party would have been. But as you know, these things get very quiet and boring. You might fall asleep. But if you want to see this, let me know in the chat. Leave it up, and I'll leave it up. All right?
Again, just minutes away from the official start of lunar flyby, or when it is timelined for the crew. We are currently 10,726 miles away from the moon. This view on the left side of your screen coming from the camera on one of Orion's solar arrays. Other conversation points while the crew are getting ready for their flyby today. They'll be looking to orient themselves using major landmarks and annotating their observations along with their discussion. They'll have 10 minutes for that warm-up discussion.
Houston integrity. We have two folks at the window deep in discussion talking about all of the awesome features that they're seeing. We just had a huge moment realizing that Hertzsprung is about the same size as our incredible Oriental. We're really excited about this target that's kind of new to us. We're orienting on things like how we talk about albedo, finding some of the prevalent things that we're used to from all of our training, and just overall taking in this view. We also are noticing that the moon is still getting noticeably bigger as we go, even when you're watching it continuously. It's great to see these two guys get warmed up.
We love the report, Christina. Thanks. And you nailed it on why we added Hertzsprung. As you'll see in the prompts, we're looking for comparisons to the comparatively much older Hertzsprung compared to the younger Oriental. Great words.
This is Artemis Mission Control. That was the voice of Dr. Kelsey Young speaking with the astronauts aboard Orion as they begin their observation period and lunar flyby. NASA astronaut Christina Cook reporting their view of Hertzsprung Basin. The team here is looking for centered images of the basin at a full zoom, and they're hoping that the astronauts can image and describe the inner and outer rings. This is considered a degraded basin with a floor, rings, and ejecta compared to a younger Oriental basin. We spoke earlier with Julian Gross, the Artemis curation lead, about some of the terms we will hear the crew use today. One of those just called out, that's albedo, looking at surface brightness, or the amount of light a surface reflects. A few more terms that we hope to hear today during the crew's sit reps or situation reports include embaying. This refers to one feature that surrounds another. That usually is a higher relief feature.
Houston integrity, one report from the crew at the windows. We can actually see the moon and Earth at the same time right now. It's interesting because the Earth looks way brighter, so the Earth itself seems to have a much higher albedo than the moon. We think this is independent of our eyes focusing because, of course, the Earth is much smaller than the moon in our view. So you could think that your eyes focus for the darker sky, and that it means that it only has apparent brightness more than the moon. But since we're seeing both in the same view, we do think that this can be inferred as the Earth as a whole has a higher albedo.
Great observation, Christina, and reminder that as you're starting to look for those subtle color and albedo variations on the moon, the relatively bright albedo Earth might make those a little bit difficult, but as your eyes continue to adjust, we expect you to start to see more nuance on the moon. Thanks.
Great call. Thanks for the reminder.
We're all going to be experts in lunar terminology by the end of the day. Another one we expect to hear is mare. These are dark regions paved or filled by volcanic deposits. You also can hear them called seas, oceans, lakes, or marshes, or other bodies of water. Again, we are live in Artemis Mission Control, but on the right side of your screen, that is the Science Evaluation Room, team members who have been preparing for this day for years. The crew has significantly darkened the cabin of Orion. This allows them better views outside the windows and fewer reflections from inside. They reported being able to see the moon and the Earth out the same window at this time. We are really hopeful to get those photos. Right now, this view on the left side of your screen coming from a camera mounted on one of the solar array wings on Orion outside the spacecraft. The crew is equipped with 80 to 400 millimeter zoom lenses. The team continues their warm-up discussion. I should say the crew members aboard Orion continue their warm-up discussion. However, they are about to be prompted to move on to discussion number 2, which is near side and far side. Some of the things that they are looking to capture, the ground has prompted them to photograph anything that stands out to them and to compare the near side versus the far side mare in color, albedo, topography, and texture. They also want the crew to compare the appearance of rayed craters in the near side mare versus in the far side highlands. Of course, a reminder that some of the items that the crew, or some of the landmarks the crew are seeing today, is the first time that humans have ever laid eyes on those portions of the moon. In the targeting package, there are a few reminders of the crew. For the crew, there are time-sensitive observation reminders and science sit-rep reminders.
Integrity. We have a sit-rep. The targets that are being discussed right now, it's the far side, near side comparison, and hearing some great discussion of browns and greens in the Aristarchus Plateau and how those disappear as you go toward the North Pole, and then over to the far side, you lose the color. You've got Jeremy in window 2, Reed in window 1, having a great discussion. Christina's under window, I'm sorry, Reed is in window 3. Christina's under window 1, documenting the discussion. And we've got the lights completely off in the cabin. There are some LEDs that we cannot put out that do provide some light scatter. But we have all of the internal lights off. And are letting our eyes adjust as best we can. The window 4 view, you only get about a third of the moon. Tycho is going to go over the horizon soon, and you can see Aristarchus, and then you start to lose the view as you go to the west in Oceanus and Procellarum. So far, the team is on the plan, and the long lens is being put to good use, and recordings are being made, and internal documentation of the configuration and the observations is ongoing. Science, do you have any questions for us at this time?
Integrity Science. Victor, very glad that you provided the first formal science sitrep, as these were indeed your idea. One follow-up question, any relationship between those browns and greens you described? Do you see them blending into one another, and do you see any topography associated with either color?
I don't want to bother the window team. I just heard that, overheard that, and so I'm sorry I don't have that detail yet. I will eavesdrop and see if I can pick that up. I will try to answer that at some point. I also heard a comparison of the albedo in Aristarchus, that crater, the very high albedo spot. You can see it on the near side. There is a feature called, I believe, Burgess alpha that is equally or maybe higher albedo. I apologize for the gaps. I'm trying to listen and talk at the same time, but I will try to get some more information to correlate those colors from Aristarchus for you.
Understood, Victor, and good call to not bug the window team. Really like the brightness comparisons to Burgess A. Really helpful for the science team. Keep them coming. Thanks.
I also heard a discussion about the albedo of Grimaldi being a 10, and how many of us, when we were a little further away, saw that as the darkest albedo, and that the bigger Mare off to the to the east was still dark, but maybe a 7-8. We still think that, but you are seeing color variation, albedo variation inside of Grimaldi as well, and that even on the west side, there's still a very dark part of it. But it is still the darkest. It is just not as uniform as it looked when we were farther away. We're starting to differentiate the striations of albedo inside of Grimaldi.
Copy all, Victor, and you read our mind. Superlatives like darkest, biggest are really, really helpful for us, so keep those coming.
As we were just mentioning, the crew is slated to perform these science sit reps. They are prompted to do so by an icon in their lunar targeting plan. That one coming down from NASA astronaut and pilot of Artemis 2, Victor Glover. As we discussed, the Capcom is usually the only person in the room speaking with the crew, the capsule communicator. However, today, the science officer, Dr. Kelsey Young, she is the Artemis Science Flight Operations Lead, is speaking with the crew during the flyby to ask any questions that the team may have. To her right is Trevor Graff. He is one of 3 science officers. Those would be Kelsey Young, Trevor Graff, and Angela Garcia, who will also join us later for an interview.
And Houston Integrity Science Integrity was able to get a view out of window 1, which is a beautiful view. I can see the entire moon that they're looking at. We left the T-shirt up there, so I was kind of peeking through the opening in the makeshift shroud there. And once I was able to get two eyes on it, what jumped out at me was Vavilov. It's just peeking out of the Terminator. It's clear of the Terminator now, but it just really jumps out because it's still got the low light, the low sun angle. And so where the, Vavilov has that impact over the top of another crater, where the two craters intersect on the eastern edge. So on the side closest to Oriental, where the two crater rings intersect, the shadow there is the highest peak in the interior of Vavilov, and so you can see that terrain is, there's some real variation in the terrain there, that there's a nice peak where those peaks intersect, where those rings intersect, and we'll get a picture of that.
Love the description, Victor, especially the comparison and relationships you just described about topography. And if it's easier for your observations, do feel free to remove the T-shirt shroud from window 1.
Yeah, absolutely. We will do. Thank you.
Those calls coming from NASA astronaut Victor Glover. As we discussed, the crew is working in pairs at the windows. Right now, taking photos are Commander Reed Wiseman and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. Serving as their support team are pilot Victor Glover and Mission Specialist Christina Cook. You're hearing those calls from Victor Glover as he is on that support team, and he is tasked with providing the science sit reps, while the two crew photographing and making annotations of the moon are in windows 2 and 3. Windows 1 and 4 are available for the support crew to fly up to, obviously look at the moon themselves, and provide these science situational reports. The view on your screen is part of the lunar targeting package, and it's something that the crew can reference as they are flying by. But this is an animation. You also heard Glover mention Oriental. Oriental is a major feature that the team is interested in today, and it's known as the Grand Canyon of the Moon. Until this mission, the Oriental Basin had never been seen in sunlight by human eyes. Oriental Basin and its surrounding ejecta could fit within a straight line distance from NASA's Johnson Space Center, where we are at today, to Kennedy Space Center. This a live view in Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas, where the teams are monitoring all systems, not just for today's flyby, but on the spacecraft themselves. Again, this is a test flight, our very first flight of humans on the Orion spacecraft. This team has been this team has been monitoring the entire time of the mission, as well as we have been live the entirety of the mission, and we will be continuing to do so all the way through splashdown and crew recovery from the Pacific. This is a visualization from ARROW, the Artemis real-time orbit website that you can also access at any time by visiting nasa.gov/track-Artemis, showing us that we are now under 10,000 miles from the moon, 9,948 to be specific, and continuing to count down. Again, our closest approach to the moon today should come about 6:02 p.m. Central, 7:02 p.m. Eastern. However, we will be out of contact with the crew at this time as they begin transiting behind the moon. At that time of closest approach, the distance from Orion to the lunar surface will be about 4,070 miles. Of course, these are estimates at this time, and we'll be sure to provide you with the official numbers once that closest approach has been reached. This shot live inside the Orion spacecraft, where our 4 crew members are continuing with their lunar flyby activities. They have just begun those activities really about 20 minutes ago, so we've got several hours of moon view opportunities. This is still a live view inside that capsule. However, you can see just how dark they have turned down the lights. Actually, they've turned them all the way off. There are a few LEDs that they cannot power off, but turning down these lights gives them better views outside of the spacecraft's windows while they photograph the moon. This also prevents any reflections from inside the spacecraft bouncing up on the windows and interfering with their photography. Once this block is complete, about 40 minutes from now, we will have the teams switch. That means pilot Victor Glover and...
Science integrity, looking out of window 1. I think I may have misreported earlier saying that it was Tycho going over the horizon. That was Copernicus I was referring to. Apologies. It was Copernicus is what is farthest bounding to the east, and that is now like on the horizon or just past it. And the Korolev is now a few degrees from going over the horizon. And then, next it'll be Aristarchus Plateau. And so on the west, we are getting a much better view of the Terminator. It looks like we have about 80% illumination of the moon. And Vavilov and one Vavilov diameter to the west is where the Terminator is right now. And so other features are starting to peek out there. The center of the illuminated part of the moon is to the lower part is Oriental, and just around Oriental, a lot of light structure is starting to show up. A lot of high albedo, similar to the feature, I cannot remember, Burgess Alpha and Aristarchus type high albedo in the ring. So when you look at the interior ring and the external ring, it's almost as if the edges are starting to dry up and turn white. If it was something that was wet and got dry, the edges would be the part to dry first. You just kind of outline all the topography in the interior of that wall is like it was dusted with chalk or is starting to dry, or maybe dusted with snow. If this was the Earth, I would say there was snow dumped on some of the ridges on the interior of the rings. of Oriental. Also, an interesting part of the discussion that I heard between Reed and Jeremy is that from Glishko to Grimaldi, there are two dark features there that look like commas, but in the wrong direction. But there's also a lot of interestingness, just a lot of geometry and squiggles and dots and lines that are starting to stand out as more small features come into view. And there also is a lot of variation in albedo. In some of those, the two dark features, for example, have on the southern edge of the larger one, the one that's further to the south, there's a very dark, the one albedo, like the southern and western part of Grimaldi. And the one to the north, closer to Glishko, is also that same dark albedo. And then around them, there are some very high albedo spots just to the north of the southern one, and just to the west of the smaller one to the north. Very high albedo, almost approaching the 10, a 9 or a 10, like Aristarchus. And lots of little bright spots are just starting to pop up in this view. To the north, as you look up at the North Pole, there is a very distinct crater with a lot of a very defined central peak that is also 3 in albedo, and all of that area past it, going to the horizon, gets lighter and lighter, and is very, very high albedo. And I will go look and find the name of that feature if I can look that up. And then to the south, really getting some interesting geography and topography in the South Pole Aitken Basin. And the view of the South Pole is quite amazing. We've got some Terminator there, as well as the limb view, and there is a very distinct crater right at the South Pole. And I'm going to go look up, I don't believe that is Aiken, but I'm going to go look up the name of that one because it's also giving a lot of good topography due to the shadows that I'm seeing. But that's, I was trying to bound the view that I'm seeing for you, and I got distracted by all of these interesting albedo variations that are popping up in the interior. But that's the view that we see. Just a Vavilov diameter to the west beyond is where the Terminator is. Just beyond, I think Copernicus is the easternmost feature that we can see. A very nice ringed, very nice structure crater to the north with a great high albedo central uplift to the north, and the south is dotted by a very characteristic crater with a lot of terrain, shadow features, and I will go try to find some landmarks to put names with those. Any questions for the observation team?
Integrity Science, love the descriptions. You're definitely looking odd up there. Appreciate seeing the training being implemented. Especially interested in your descriptions of the dark patches. You compared the comma-looking features to the albedo you see in Grimaldi and noticed that you're starting to see those color differences popping out. Any observations you want to make, especially when you get on, the PCD in a little bit, would really help us tease out the differences in those dark Mare deposits. Great description, Victor. Keep them coming.
Absolutely will do, and I know you've got descriptions on both of the window observers right now as well. Keep them coming.
Great evidence of how well trained this crew is by the science team. NASA astronaut and pilot of the Artemis 2 mission, Victor Glover, calling down a situation report, noting several different features on the moon and such descriptions, even saying that it looks like snow on some of the peaks. Obviously, we do not expect that to be snow, but referencing that as some of the lighting on how it looks to the Artemis 2 crew from their current position. The team is slated to be switching their positions at the windows now. Both Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen have been at windows 2 and 3, one taking photos, one making observations and annotations on their portable computing device. At this time, we also anticipate that they are looking at a crater duo. One of those is Glushko, and the other is Ohm. The team is looking to know the extent of Glushko's ray system and how its rays differ in the Mare versus the Highlands. They also want the team to compare the ray systems of Glushko to Ohm. Ohm is considered a young crater. And if you've ever seen a photo of the Richat structure, it's also known as the Eye of the Sahara. It's 40 kilometers in diameter, and that could fit within Ohm's interior. The team is specifically interested in descriptions of that ray visibility, including the color, albedo. Remember, albedo is the brightness or the surface reflection, and the reach. Again, I am using the same lunar targeting package that the crew is referencing on board right now. This helps keep them on time as well as prompt them for when they need to make a call down to the science team and report what they're saying. It also gives them reminders of when they need to swap positions at the windows. Additionally, I'm using the Artemis 2 Lunar Science Passport developed by Amber Turner and the Artemis 2 Lunar Science team. Now, this passport did not fly with the crew, but they used it extensively as a study guide here on Earth. So a lot of the descriptions and comparisons you hear today are developed directly by the science team. We are now 4 days, 20 hours, and 43 minutes.
Science, integrity, that crater to the north, that is, it's like we've got one in the north that looks like just a textbook crater, and one on the South Pole as well. The one on the north, I think, is Pythagoras. And what I wanted to highlight about that is it is either a very distinct central uplift or just a very defined area of high albedo. If a majority of the crater, especially the floor of the crater, is, say, an albedo of 5, this center, and only a tenth of the diameter of Pythagoras is an albedo of 2, maybe 3, but it is very bright and it stands out. And then between that crater and the actual what is the horizon from here, there seems to be another crater right on the horizon, and right on the edge of that is another patch of that albedo. It seems to be between the two craters. It's hard to tell from this grazing angle, but there is another spot just further north beyond Pythagoras. Between the two, I can draw a picture of this one and show you where that very high albedo, again, another 2 albedo surrounded by 5 and most of the area bounding it.
Integrity Science, thanks for that. We agree with the Pythagoras assessment. And as a follow-up to your previous report, the SIR had questions about topography comparisons between the North Pole and the South Pole of the Moon, if you're willing to provide words on that.
topography comparisons, absolutely. And if you have any idea what, if you draw a line between Pythagoras and the western edge of the outer defined ring of Oriental, it intersects a beautiful textbook crater on the south. I would love to know the name of that. The topography differences, now the South Pole has a little bit of a benefit that it has more of the Terminator, and I can see a little more shadowing there, but there's a nice crater right at the South Pole, so that's the main thing defining the topography there. Seems to be quite a bit of elevation change. I can see some very jagged shadows, a 90-degree just to the west of that crater at the South Pole. I can see a very distinct change in the shadow directions, indicating, I don't know, a very high wall or a very deep canyon just to the west of that. And in the north, it seems to be that from sort of the edge of the mare that's dark, which is maybe 1 Pythagoras diameter south, if you draw a ring about that, maybe the top 7 degrees of the moon, and just draw a ring around that, the near side is an albedo of 5 and looks quite smooth from here. And then along the same edge of the mare, the edge of the mare that kind of Grimaldi's just outside of, Glushko is just outside of, Carroll Crater is just outside of, and you start to see the stark differences between the darker 7/8 and the 5s and 6s, the 4s and 5s. If you follow that line up to the north, that line is also where the change in topography happens at the North Pole. The line defining the light and dark on the edge of the mare that you can see from Earth. Draw that line, roughly the midpoint of all that, straight to the North Pole. And on the side facing the Earth, you see smoother topography and dotted by Pythagoras and its next-door neighbor crater. And then on the far side, you see a lot more cratering and a lot more topography. And again, the far side has the benefit of a little Terminator there, but I am seeing a variation in the topography. It seems to be more jagged and a more challenging place to find a place to land and to even traverse in the south. All around the South Pole, and at the North Pole, it would be more challenging to translate on the far side of the North Pole compared to the near side of the North Pole around Pythagoras.
Copy all, Victor. You really help paint a contextual picture of what you're looking at. We really appreciate the way that you're guiding us into the areas you're seeing by drawing comparisons between recognizable features. Thanks for that.
And Kelsey, another little science sit rep moment, something I just heard from the window team is the more I look at the moon, the browner and browner it looks. I thought that was an interesting observation. The 2 observers have been on timeline, no hardware issues. They did start to talk a little bit about another feature that you'll hear more about on the recordings that they call the handprint. That was at the end of their Glushko and before they moved into their current target. They thought that was worth chatting a little bit more about. And they're preparing to switch after this.
Houston copies and concurs.
Hey, Houston and Science Integrity, another just observation from the human. My eyes have shifted a little bit since I've been up here. I've been wearing my reading glasses to look at the PCD. Well, this is a very taxing event on the eyes, looking out the window and seeing the very bright moon, then coming back inside to the dark cabin and trying to work cameras and microphones and logistics and lunch and those kinds of things, and then looking at the PCD, which is dimly lit. It's just been an exercise. It is a difficult thing to manage it. I'm up and down on the glasses and then having to wait as my eyes adjust when I come back in. As soon as I look back into the cabin from looking out the window, I can just feel my eyes adjusting, and I just have to work through it as they adjust.
Appreciate that report, Victor, and know that we are prepared to read you up targets from the ground if that would give you the ability to keep your eyes focused on the moon and not having to swap between that and the PCD. Just let us know.
Yeah, we appreciate that science, and we will also do that for the window teams, and we'll back each other up that way as well. But we appreciate that. We may take you up on that. Thanks.
Continued detailed descriptions from the Artemis 2 crew aboard Orion. Again, this is a test flight, the first time we've flown humans aboard this spacecraft. So every detail, even that it's difficult to look outside the window and then back at the PCD, that portable computing device, every single detail is appreciated as we prepare for future missions. Glover also mentioned that he is now wearing his glasses now that he's in space and that his eyes have shifted a bit. This is something that happens when our astronauts go to space. There is a fluid shift from the lower half of your body up into your head, and that can cause changes in your eyes. It's something that we have seen over time for some crew members, especially now that we have been living and working on the International Space Station for over 25 years. Again, it's clear that these Artemis 2 astronauts have undergone extensive lunar science training, including classroom instruction, fieldwork, and high-fidelity simulations. Training expeditions even took place in analog environments like the Icelandic Highlands and the Kemasassen impact crater in Labrador, where crews practiced identifying and describing geologic features under varying conditions. Additionally, here at Johnson Space Center, Orion mock-ups were used to rehearse crew choreography, including three-dimensional space management with an inflatable moon globe to simulate the flyby. And while on Earth, the crew also used that small lunar passport that I mentioned with descriptions, photos, and prompts to help them study the features we hope they'll see. Now, this is a view from their lunar targeting package at this time, helping them determine what they're seeing on the moon, as well as on the left, keep up with what their next target will be. As you can see, we have got a long list and an exciting day ahead of us. It's now been 4 days, 20 hours, and 53 minutes since Orion launched atop the Space Launch System rocket from Kennedy Space Center in Florida with our 4 crew members aboard. NASA astronauts Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Cook, and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. The Artemis 2 crew passed a major milestone today when they passed the Apollo 13 distance record at 12:57 p.m. Central, 1:57 p.m. Eastern. That Apollo 13 distance record was 248,655 statute miles from Earth.
And Houston, another observation, whole moon. When you look at the moon, something I've never seen in photographs before, but is very apparent, all the really bright new craters. Some of them are super tiny. Most of them are pretty small. There's a couple that really stand out, obviously. And what it really looks like is like a lampshade with tiny pinprick holes and the light shining through. They are so bright compared to the rest of the moon.
We copy, Christina. Thank you. Looks like you guys might be doing it, but remind you to swap positions at the window and take your SD cards with you. We're loving everything that you're calling down, so keep it up.
Again, Orion previously surpassed that Artemis or the Apollo 13 greatest distance from Earth by humans. That was 248,655 statute miles from Earth, and Orion now 250,294 miles away from our home planet. The spacecraft is 9,033 miles away from the moon and growing ever closer. At its closest approach, it'll be about 4,070 miles away, and we will make sure we confirm what that distance ends up being. This is an approximation and an estimate ahead of that moment. We're anticipating them to make that closest approach at 6:02 p.m. Central, 7:02 Eastern, when they are in a loss of signal, transiting behind the moon. They will be the first humans in over 50 years to fly behind the moon and lose contact with Earth. We will regain that contact about 40 minutes later as they reconnect to the Deep Space Network, emerging from behind the moon, and we will look forward to seeing an Earthrise. Again, the crew is currently in their position swap portion on their timeline. This allows crew members the opportunity and the experience of all roles necessary during today's flyby. Right now, those two crew members at the window have swap positions. Again, the crew at the windows swapping positions. Right now, that crew is Commander Reed Wiseman and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen, while Victor Glover and Christina Cook serve as their support flyby crew members. That's why you are hearing Victor and Christina during those science situation reports. Those voices will change in about 30 minutes when they take a turn, taking photos and making annotations while at the window.
Houston integrity. I wanted to provide an observation or a little bit of descriptive nature on something that we saw on the first day we had good moon views. This was when we saw more of the near side, and the ground helped me out with identifying Mare Imbrium. Mare Imbrium, when you have the western limb also in view, looks completely different than the normal view we have of the near side. It is the most striking feature of the western limb view that we had. And the mountain chains that form its eastern side are very prominent, but they actually stand out more than I'm used to seeing even on the western side. And the whole thing just feels like a big bump. it actually looks like a large healing wound with a high albedo forming the mountain chain around the impact basin. And I just don't think I had enough chance to describe how striking it was on that western limb view as we were coming in a couple days ago.
Christina, science, absolutely love that, especially since that's a feature that all of us here on Earth can observe from home. So I'm sure tonight everyone's going to be going out and looking for evidence of that beautiful topography you just said. Thanks for those words.
The view on your screen coming from Orion, a camera mounted on the spacecraft's solar array wing. Toward the right of your screen, the near side is the hemisphere we see from Earth. That is identifiable by those dark splotches, which are ancient lava flows.
Science integrity. A question and a comment. Question is it possible that we're seeing a Schrodinger basin from this vantage point in the Terminator at the South Pole? And the comment is Ohm. The rays coming out of Ohm are less distinct. We are not seeing the bright rays coming out of it, but the sort of 9 o'clock wedge that is formed by the change in albedo from the interior portion that is to the northeast to the surrounding lighter mare that's 270 degrees to the west. That 90 is very distinct and interior. You got some great descriptions from the two at the window about the colors in there, but in that darker part, in that wedge, you've got some really interesting color, even though the rays, the distinct difference in the albedo almost look like rays, but it's not the rays coming out. It's the just change in that albedo.
Integrity science, that is very intriguing, those color rays coming out of Ohm rather than sort of albedo. And as answer to your question, we do not think you can see Schrodinger. It's in darkness as of now. But thanks for that Ohm description, and it sounds like the pair at the window's got great descriptions that we're definitely going to dive into tonight.
Okay. If you could help me, I would still love to know what it is. There's a very nice crater. You're going to likely have a lot of pictures of it.